Good evening. I'm Bob Stone, the chair of the Underhill Selectboard. Today's date is the 23rd of October. It is Thursday. It is now 6 o'clock. I'm going to call this regular scheduled select board meeting and public hearing for the winter maintenance of the northerly portion of Mountain Road to order. So the first thing is to call the hearing regarding winter maintenance and the placement of a seasonal gate to order. The select board has called the hearing to receive testimony from the public and town staff. The select board will not be providing testimony. This is not a back and forth discussion. We are gathered here to receive testimony from the public. So we are going to listen. So at this time, I'm going to turn the hearing over to our friend Dan Nance, who is our town moderator, and let him proceed with the public hearing. Thank you, Dan, for coming.
Oh, my pleasure, and thank you for having me. So again, as Bob said, just as a point of clarification, I am sometimes invited to assist the select board when they have hearings so that they can do exactly that. They can listen. They don't then need to focus on the process and the management of the discussion. I'll try and take care of that. So let me begin by reading the warning for this hearing, and then I'll go over a few ground rules as we begin. So the warning was written pursuant to the requirements of Title 19, Chapter 7 of the Vermont Statutes Annotated. The town of Underhill will conduct an examination of the premises on Saturday, October 18, 2025 at 1 p.m. A public hearing will take place on Thursday, October 23rd, 2025 at 6 p.m. to consider whether safety considerations for the traveling public and the town employees warrant ceasing winter maintenance on the northerly plus or minus 1.1 mile portion of Town Highway number 2, Mountain Road, a Class 3 highway, which is the portion northerly of the winter parking area. Additionally, the select board will consider the erection of a gate across Town Highway number 2 to be located near the northerly end of the winter parking area. All interested parties are hereby notified of the following. 1, an inspection of the premises at 1 p.m. on Saturday, October 18 on Town Highway number 2, Mountain Road, to be held at the winter parking area located approximately 1.7 miles northeast of the intersection of Pleasant Valley Road. The portion of the Class 3 town highway to be considered may be described as follows. Starting at or near the northern end of the winter parking area, located approximately 1.7 miles up Mountain Road from Pleasant Valley Road, which will be the terminus for winter maintenance and the location of a proposed gate to be erected. The highway will not be maintained during the winter months from that point northerly to the terminus of Town Highway number 2. The length is approximately 1.1 miles. For the safety of the public, the gate will only be used to prohibit vehicles from accessing the highway during the winter months when the highway will not be maintained. 2, a public hearing on Thursday, October 23rd, 2025 at 6 p.m. will be held at the Underhill Town Office located at 12 Pleasant Valley Road, Underhill, as well as virtually using the GoToMeeting virtual platform. The purpose of the hearing is to receive testimony from all persons abutting, owning, or interested in the matter of winter maintenance of the northerly plus or minus 1.1 mile portion of Town Highway number 2 and the erection of a gate as described above. Persons wishing to comment, provide testimony, or give evidence regarding winter maintenance or the erection of a gate may do so during the hearing or by filing comments in writing prior to the hearing. If after examining the premises and hearing from any and all interested persons, the select board judges that based upon safety considerations for the traveling public and town employees of the town of Underhill warrants not maintaining this northerly plus or minus 1.1 mile section of Town Highway number 2, Mountain Road, and the erection of a gate thereon, it will be so ordered. And that, that warning was dated the 11th of September, 2025, signed and posted, I think, as of that date. So that's the matter. We're going to take testimony, but I think everyone who plans to provide testimony needs to be sworn in, I believe. So if anyone here in the room who plans to provide testimony or anyone online, if you would please raise your right hand and say the information you provide in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury. I do. Thank you. So first we're going to hear from our town administrator, Brad Holden, and then we'll turn it over to the public. Like I say, there's a group here. I suspect some wish to provide testimony. There's some folks online.
No one's sworn in online.
Oh, no one's sworn in online? Okay. So we'll hear from folks here. And then if there's any questions from the select board, we'll take those too, if you have anything to say. So with that, I would ask everyone who provides testimony, please try and limit your comments to not more than 5 minutes. We have allocated up to 6:30 for this hearing. So hopefully that'll be plenty of time for everybody who wishes to speak. But please know the select board has other business to do tonight as well. So with that, let me turn it over to Brad Holden, our town administrator.
I just want to pop in here. Are you here, sir, for the
Yes.
for the Mountain Road hearing?
No, I'm here for, you know, I'm here.
The regular select board meeting. So we're okay. I just wanted to clarify if you're here for the Mountain Road hearing, which is taking place right now. Okay, thank you. And there's a sign-in sheet right up there. Yeah. You on to me?
Yes, we're on to you. Take it away.
So I would like to admit several exhibits for the record. Exhibit A, select board meeting minutes from September 11th, 2025, when the select board moved on its own motion to commence these or to initiate these proceedings. Then I have exhibit B is the notice of examination of premises and the public hearing regarding winter maintenance in the northerly portion of Town Highway 2. That's exhibit B is the warning. Exhibit C is the 2025 state aid mileage map, which depicts Mountain Road in the state park. Exhibit D is a parcel map showing parcels affected by the business tonight. Exhibit E is a detailed map of where the town turns around, the portion that the state plows, and the section being considered for winter maintenance, as well as the upper gate to the state park and the remainder 0.33 miles. Of exhibit F, which is a certificate of service. This was the mailing to all the people affected on the road, their lien holders, current use program, as well as the Underhill Planning Commission, the Department of Forest, Parks and Recreation, and the Underhill Jericho Fire Department. Exhibit G is a notice of the warning that appeared in the 7 days, which is Underhill's official newspaper of circulation, that appeared on October 1st. Exhibit H is tonight's agenda. Exhibit I is a summary of the examination of the premises that took place on October 18th. I'll just summarize that briefly. Select board members present were Patty Richards, Dan Steinbauer, and Shara Tarul. The inspection started promptly at 1 o'clock and ended at 2:12. Those present from the public were Mike French, Charlie Smith, 174 Mountain Road, Bill Fogg, 210 Mountain Road, and Ben Davison, which is a nephew of Bill Fogg's. Exhibit J is an email I received from Scott Gould. And Scott Gould has a lot that's quite high up on the mountain on the left-hand side. And I might as well just read this, it's very short. It says, hi Brad, thank you for explaining the background on why this change is needed. There is a section of mountain road right above the winter parking area where there's a steep drop off and no guardrails. Because of the popularity of the state park, there is a high degree of traffic on Mountain Road during non-winter months. Would it be possible to get guardrails installed on this section of Mountain Road? Sincerely, Scott Gould. Then he replied back last Thursday and said, hi Brad, I was on Mountain Road and looked at the area above the winter parking area, and I don't believe a guardrail is needed for the non-winter months. Like you said, there are worse roads that don't have guardrail. Thanks, Scott. I did speak, I'll just say that I did speak verbally, although there was no testimony given, but I did speak with Rob Fields as A. Johnson Company. They own a lot that's high above Harvey Road. Their official access is off Harvey Road, but they have a Mountain Road address. So I spoke with him and sent him a notice. They didn't have any issues. They did some logging, but they access from Harvey Road. Spoke with Scott Gould, as I said. I spoke with Keith Thompson, explained the situation. I also spoke with Frank von Turkovich, and he was in favor of the closure so long as he had access if needed through the gate. So that's what I have for exhibits. Briefly, I could just explain that the town maintains in the winter months to the last driveway on Mountain Road, which is shown on the maps, and Russ turns around in that spot. And then there's a short section from there to the winter parking area that the state maintains. And Mike French is here, he does the plowing for that. So from that point, northerly, there's no maintenance. Typically, when winter's in full swing and there's a big snowbank formed, there's no issues. So snowbank forms, unless somebody tries to take it down or get around it, the vehicular traffic stops at that point. But it's the time when the first snowfall happens and the bank's not large enough. So that's when vehicles can get up there. They pack the snow, the road gets really icy, and accidents have happened. Last year, there was an incident where a car slid off the road, emergency services went up and tried to, administer aid. Several vehicles were slammed into. What happens at the very upper gate where we saw where the state park really begins, people have a tendency to park there when they can get up the road. And then when somebody else comes up, there's no place to turn around. So they try to turn around and they wind up smashing in other vehicles. On our site visit, we witnessed some areas off the west side of the road where there's some steep banks with no trees that went down for 100 feet or better down to the brook. So very dangerous situation in the winter months if there's snow on the ground and it's not maintained. We did look also at the site visit of a potential gate location, and the gate would be seasonal and it would be under the control of the select board or whoever they delegate the authority to close once first snowfall blows it up. So we did talk about there's some landowners that sugar the fogs that may need access through the gate. I did speak with Nate Sullivan, former road foreman. He doesn't ever remember in his tenure or even before that where we've ever done any maintenance beyond that section of the road. I've also seen some old minutes from the select board back in the 70s where somebody that had a camp requested some winter maintenance, and that did not happen either. So there's been a long history of not maintaining this section of road, but I think in the safety of the public and our town employees and emergency services warrants a gate. So that's basically all I have to say.
Great synopsis. Thank you very much for that. So at this point, I think we are open for any public comments from anyone who is here and would care to provide testimony.
And please come to the table.
Yeah, please come on up here so that you'll be audible on the microphone.
Well, I just have the same questions I had Saturday. Bill Fogg, 210 Mountain Road. So just want to know, Saturday, I know we couldn't really talk about it, but I want to make sure that I understand clearly. Did we decide Saturday roughly where the gate would go?
I think, if you allow me to answer, I think well, Patty was there. I think we looked at a general area. Would you say that's?
Yeah, it's an approximation. The select board will have to deliberate after this to determine if a gate would be installed, and then we would talk about the location during our deliberations. But it'd be generally in that vicinity that we talked about.
So keep in mind, we also discussed, and well, I said it, we didn't really discuss, the signage, no parking either side of the road from here to the gate, no blocking the gate. That would be important as well. And then I haven't heard yet, but I assume that'll come later as well. Will we get keys or combinations?
So that's something I think the select board will have to consider, but we understand the situation and possibly on a case-by-case basis. It's my understanding we can't restrict access to people's property, but there were some concerns about the gate and control of it, but I think the select board knows that. The select board knows that you have a need to access. So just for the record, Bill Fogg's parcel is roughly 200 to 300 feet is access from where the potential gate location would be.
Correct.
So I think you just stating the fact that access is important to you for the sugaring months is probably sufficient.
Okay. And then during that, with that, when we're up there, I have plowed the road when we were sugaring up there in the past, cleared my way up to the gate and so forth. I want to make sure that that's still okay if we back up sand down while we're up in there onto the road.
Because I don't understand that. So you want to be able to put sand on the road past the gate, past the 300 feet where your access is
No,
and continue up?
just to where my access is.
Gotcha.
For sugaring purposes.
Yes, so we can get our truck up there. So what happens is we have a tank, it's a 1,000-gallon tank that sits up on the hill. We pump down to it with the vacuum system into that tank. And then from there, we run a pipeline down to the road where we sit with the tank in the truck. We fill the truck tank and we shuttle.
So Nate did say, when I asked him, that he remembers doing that once for you.
Yeah.
During sugaring season. So-
Yes,
So can I ask a question?
Sure.
Hypothetically speaking, and I don't even know if this is possible, so I'm just, again, it's just an idea that just came to my head. Would you consider placing a tank near the gate, off to the side of the gate or near the gate, and running pipeline to that area so that you wouldn't have to go beyond the gate to go up there?
well, there's two things about that. I would just, first of all, it's not on my land. We don't own that land.
Right,
Where the gate would be.
right.
So, and secondly, right now we work off of gravity from where the tank is into the truck. If we were lower, we would end up having to have a power pump.
Gotcha,
Pump the sap out of the tank.
gotcha. Okay.
Great idea. And we did talk about
Well, we talked about maybe instead of a tank, just run the pipeline from your tank down to a spot that would near the gate,
Yeah.
perhaps. But if that's not gonna work, we understand.
That's it. That's all I had. Those were my requests for consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I should have mentioned earlier that at the end of this hearing tonight, the select board will not be making any decision tonight. Select board has, I believe, 60 days after this hearing to deliberate and consider. So I think, again, they're predominantly, the purpose of this meeting is for them to hear input about the decision that they're considering. So, okay, who else?
And the deliberation is in closed session.
Deliberation would be in closed session. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Jason Nirenberg, Stewardship Forester with the Vermont Department of Forest Parks and Recreation. Brad communicated this, floated this idea to me in the fall, me and my counterpart in the Parks Division, and we're supportive of the resolution. What are we calling it? I don't think it'll have any impact on winter access, and if managed correctly, it shouldn't have any impact on private land access. So we are supportive for safety purposes.
Super.
Thank you.
That's all.
Appreciate it.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Michael French, 515 Pleasant Valley Road, the one that plows the road most of the time. I'm for the gate. It would save me some hassle building a snowbank every year and having to put it back when people plow through it or shovel through it or wherever. I don't think maintaining the road above the winter parking would be a good idea, not without guardrails, just because of all the different slide offs that have happened over the last few years. I showed the select board where there was one car that slid off, and it took the towing company quite a while to pull them out. So I think it's probably a good idea to put a gate up, and as long as there's a place for me to push snow, I'm all for it and supportive of it. So, thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any others? I don't know if anyone.
Anton, you have your hand up. We'll just swear you in quickly, Anton, if you want to give testimony.
Okay. I don't know how to
There,
do it, but have at it.
So, Anton, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Great. Thank you for joining us. State your name, address, and the floor is yours.
Anton Kelsey, 200 Pleasant Valley Road. A couple quick comments. One is I support this concept. I've been up there as a winter user many times and seen the folks that have, driven up and gotten in trouble. I also think a gate would probably help save me from myself sometimes when I should probably not drive up, and maybe I do. So I think it's a great idea. I think the safety piece is huge. And like I said, I've had a couple of run-ins of helping people get out of there, which has taken hours or needed help. The one consideration, and I know the site visit already happened, winter parking up there is already limited, and any gate that goes in, I hope that it doesn't impact ability to fit impact the ability to fit cars in there. And if anything, this could be an opportunity to possibly add a couple spots. That would be great, just because it is an area that does see decent use, and the parking up there in the winter can be very challenging. So anything we can do to not impact that or to improve it would be fantastic. So I would put a plug in for taking this opportunity to improve parking up there if possible.
Very good.
Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here or anyone else online who wishes to provide testimony? Okay, none so appearing. I have about 6:24. Do you want to wait another couple of minutes just to make sure nobody appears, or are you ready to close this portion of the meeting? Yeah.
We'll wait until 6:30. We've come this far. I think, another 6 minutes we'll be okay.
Good.
Can I ask a clarifying question? Will the select board be taking further testimony on this until the point of their decision?
No, so the idea is to close the evidentiary portion of the hearing so the select board can issue a decision.
Okay, thank you.
I guess one other matter was, does the select board have questions? Were you specifically hoping to learn anything that you hadn't heard already tonight?
I'm not aware of other members of the board of, if they have questions. And I'm assuming that if they do or want to give, we'll discuss that in closed deliberative session.
Good. Yeah. Okay.
I do have one question.
Please
Come on back up.
If you decide to do this, will you attempt to get it done this year?
That's the hope. It may not. We'll see how, I guess, my feeling and Jay's feeling, and it may be a temporary type situation, not a permanent situation. But we have to, the select board has to render its decision. And then there is an appeal period. So I'm not sure if we could actually take that action during the appeal period or not. I'd have to reach out to our legal counsel about that.
Yeah, 60 days out, we'll be in the snow.
Well,
Yeah.
we will have hopefully a decision much sooner than 60
Okay.
days.
Thank you.
Yeah, because the appeal process is after we've rendered a decision, it's 14 days after or 30
I'm not
days?
sure that it could be 30 days, but I'll have to ask, legal counsel.
Russ has told me that it's not snowing until after the first of the year, so.
Sure do.
Almost ready.
He's getting ready, but he said first of the year.
I'll be mowing my lawn on Christmas like I did. They were doing, I'll just tell a side story. They were up shipping brush and I happened to have the day off, the afternoon off. It was what, December 23rd, maybe? Around that third, and I was moving my lawnmower into this up, and it was so beautiful out, the grass is green. So I took a couple swipes. Mowed the lawn. Just to say I'm a
Last guy in Underhill mowing his grass.
Probably not the only Vermont that's ever done that.
No,
That's true.
always, well, there's something to do.
I've seen people use push bars, clear their walkway of snow before.
I've seen leaf blowers.
They weren't big long enough for trucking.
I have a question for Jay, if you wanted to come back up a minute.
You're the ones who take the questions.
Yeah, but does the state have any, this could be helpful information for the select board, but does the state have any plans of any improvements up in the state park? I know you did a bunch of work this recently.
There was a lot of work done in pursuit of compliance with the 3-acre stormwater rule. And then they upgraded the water system. I work for forestry, and so I largely stay out of the infrastructure of parks. The only other thing I would mention is that we've been talking with the Vermont Natural Resource Council and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service about removing a derelict dam that's off the CCC road. So removing that dam and getting rid of the sediment that's piled up behind it. So for water quality purposes and fish passage, that's the only thing on the horizon that I know of. But if you ask Joe Tyson, the Parks Regional Manager, he might have, there might be improvements to the, bathhouse or lean-tos or something like that I'm just not aware of. Is that getting the answer to your question?
Yeah, and one other question we noticed, is the telephone line still active going up the side of the road?
That I do not know.
Okay. Just thought we'd kill a little bit of time with a couple questions.
What else you got?
That's it. Close enough to 6:30.
You're within a minute now.
All right. It is now 6:30 according to my watch. So everyone here has had an opportunity to be heard. I'm going to move to close the evidentiary portion of the hearing. then the select board will deliberate in closed session and render a decision within the next 60 days from tonight. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, are you ready for the question? All those in favor of closing the evidentiary portion of this hearing, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed with nay. Motion carries 5-0. Dan, as always, thank you so much.
Pleasure. Nice to see you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, sure.
All right.
Thank
so-
you all for coming.
Thank you. So now we have closed the public hearing. I'm going to call the regular scheduled select board meeting to order. It's now 6:31. Is there any adjustments to this agenda by members of the board?
Nothing for me.
Nope.
Hearing none, we will start it up. The first order of business on the agenda that has been posted around everywhere is an opening public comment period. Is there anyone here that would like to discuss or say anything to the board?
Is this our?
This is your only opportunity to speak. There is another opportunity at the end of the meeting, but if you have anything,
You know, I like to go last, but that's okay.
please come forward here.
Hello, all. My name is Nicholas Burrell. I live at 612 Pleasant Valley Road. I'm here to say that me and my family are strongly opposed to you guys changing regulations on sawmills, as you probably know. You know, Brad, I feel like this whole thing should have been a phone call to you at the beginning, and I'm like really disappointed that it was not. And I feel like the town is operating lockstep with Gordon. You know, since this has all gone down, we've been threatened. You guys know what doxing is? Are you familiar with that term?
No.
That's when somebody posts your name and or address online and, you know, let people know like you're not with them. This man has done that to our family. He's threatened us. He's wished death upon me and my family. This is all because, you know, you guys didn't make the right call in the beginning. We had to have our attorney come in and we had to spend a lot of money to interpret those regulations for you guys. And it seems to me, I'm not a very educated man, but I read those regulations and I was like, he's not supposed to be there. And you made the wrong call in the beginning. And then I believe Charlie is also highly educated. You guys should have been able to look at that regulation and been like, no, he's not supposed to be there. And we shouldn't have had to spend any money interpreting your own regulations for you guys. Now, I guess under you and Charlie's direction, you have told Brian and I don't know this guy, but he's the new hire, Larry, I believe, to take a look at this and make it fit. Make it work. That's his words from a meeting, not mine. Okay. So, you know, and I guess it's going to be like, if you change these regulations, it's under the rules of discovery. You know, that like, oh, well, we didn't know that this was not able to be done. So now we're going to change it for Gordon. No one else is here trying to get these changes done. There's already a corridor in Underhill where sawmills are accepted. So I really feel like you're just doing this for him. I also wish you wouldn't even give this to a vote because he has offered the community and his customers huge discount rates if they will come and speak on his behalf. That's basically buying votes, you know? And now I have to, we've already paid our attorney to interpret these regulations, and now I have to like campaign against this. This seems so wrong. And I'm really trying to have like, give you guys the benefit of the doubt, you know, but from my optics, it does not look like that, you know?
May I clarify something just for you?
No,
Well, I just wanted to clarify what we're here tonight to do. And I think there's a misunderstanding. But go ahead.
You got a real short leash, Brad, because this is not a back and forth. This is an opportunity for the public to address the board.
Sure.
And so when you are addressing the board, you're not necessarily, we're not having a dialogue between the employees and the board and going back and forth. This is an opportunity for each member of the public to give testimony for 2 or 3 minutes to bring something to the attention of the select board and then we can take it under advisement and go from there. So I would caution the back and forth because I don't know where it's going to go or where it's going to lead to. But, you know, I guess my saving grace here is to allow a very short leash on replying, but I'm cautioning that this is not a back and forth. This is,
So I'll just clarify. This
Okay.
is a total procedural question or clarification with the agenda. That's all it is.
okay,
So tonight's, the reason these rule changes are in front of the select board tonight is a first introduction.
Okay.
And it's up to them whether they want to set a hearing where the public can be heard.
Okay.
And when that hearing can take place is up to them. So we're not here tonight, or the select board's not here tonight to rule on these changes.
I understand that.
Okay, so as long as you understand
Yeah.
that, it's a first introduction. And
Maybe
then
you
it's
can
up to the
clarify
board how
something.
to.
You're gonna make a decision on whether this goes to a vote tonight? Or, you know, after you receive this information?
so we have in our packet, in our agenda, to receive information from Larry, who is our town planner, regarding the municipal planning grant application, and set a hearing date possibly for the proposal for land use amendments.
Okay.
We haven't had an opportunity as a group to say what we're going to do. That's about to happen.
Absolutely.
So I can't answer that until we get there. I don't believe that we are going to be having a vote tonight to necessarily enact this information.
You know, another thing I'd like to add about why we so strongly oppose this is because you guys have a really hard time as a town, you know, in enforcing your regulations. You know, he's still operating in the same spot that he's been the whole time, right next to our house. He just dropped off logs the other day. He never cleaned up the stuff as the Development Review Board told him he's supposed to do. He never cleaned up the piles. He never cleared that out. This man does not care about your regulations, only when they fit him. Only when it behooves him is he'll continually pivot, and the town has pivoted with him the whole time. He's been able to operate the whole time that we've been fighting this. And every time that we bring proof to whatever board that it gets kicked to, they always will side with them. We proof, video proof. He's bringing in logs from another area. Says very clearly in your regulations that you're not allowed to do that. Why do we have to prove this again and again? You know, this was an unpermitted business. You guys did put no stop to it. You know, he cut the whole time. It's been cut in the last 2 years. And I really want to give you guys the benefit of the doubt and say like, no, this is your chance. You know, like if you want to say like, oh, this is discovery and this is how we found out about it. Well, you could stop it right now, you know, because all of the houses in our hamlet out there are against this. Every single one of us are against this. And I guarantee if you guys had a sawmill as close to your house as we had it to ours, you'd be against it too. And he makes it seem like it's something that's not fair. What's not fair is like he didn't do the due diligence with starting a business to think, well, this is against zoning, you know? And now all he has to do is like, you know, campaign for himself to, you know, get his regulations changed. That seems silly. And it seems really silly that we spent a good amount of money to interpret your regulations for you. Like $20,000 amount of money. You know, that seems like a slap in the face to me that you guys are just like, okay, yeah, we'll change it. You can go up to your house and operate, Gordon, don't worry, you know? And like I said before, I'm not from Vermont. I don't have everybody's friends with, you know, I don't know all the farmers and stuff. And, you know, if this goes to a vote, that'll be easy, you know, slam dunk to get it passed. And each time I've come to one of these, you know, meetings, like, please don't do this, guys. You know, this is not right. Like, I don't know what else to say, you know? And I'm communicating all the stuff that he's done because, like, I feel like you were the catalyst for this, you know, like you and Charlie, you know, I should have been, as a townsperson, be able to call the town, be like, there's an unpermitted business going on next door. Can you help me? Not, well, he's allowed to be there, and then the 15 excuses you guys gave, and I had to, our family and the family across the street had to hire an attorney to interpret your own regulations for you. Now, and I know that yourself and Charlie are very highly educated. You should have been able to read that and be like, no, Gordon, you're wrong. You're bringing in logs. You can't do that. So it seems silly. So, I mean, now's your chance. If you want to say like, you're in the good, you're in the right, we're giving everybody a fair chance. Gordon gets his chance to get the regulations changed. Like, now's the time to bump that, spike it down and say, hey, nobody wants this, Gordon, except for you. So I'd like to take any questions from you guys. If you have any questions.
This isn't
It's not a back-
this is a deliberative session. This is an opportunity for the public to bring concerns and issues to the attention of the select board. So there won't be a response from me tonight on your testimony. I've heard you. I understand I believe your frustration, and we will be looking into that further. I can tell you that.
And if nothing else, just on the fact that he's offering discounted wood delivered to pay for those votes, that's dirty pool for sure, and very easy to prove. It's right on his website for his business. If you come speak, I will give you a discount. So that seems like, dude, you should not be in business with somebody like that, or giving them an ear. I see you looking at your phones. That must be
I'm just
time, and I know you guys got other stuff, but it's very frustrating to me. Like, this should be done. It should have been one phone call. I shouldn't have to spend any money.
Thank you for coming in tonight.
I appreciate your time, and I'm sure I'll see you guys again.
Okay. Is there anybody else that has? Sure. If you wouldn't mind, please saying your name and
Sure.
where you live.
Yep, Heather Sikorsky, 612 Pleasant Valley Road, is better half. I obviously am opposing that the regulations are being changed. I want to share that it was mentioned that when this was put in front of the planning commission, like, we move slowly, and it has been an agenda item almost every meeting. So that doesn't feel like moving slowly. It feels like it's being given priority, and it's at the select board now. So it feels like it's just being pushed along as quickly as possible. And so much time has been spent on this that there were probably better uses than to change the regulations because one person asked, because they didn't fit what he needed them to be. So that's all I wanted to add to that.
Thank you so much for coming in tonight.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Is there anyone else that has any comment for the select board, either here at the town hall or virtually? Seeing and hearing none, we'll move into the next item on the agenda, which is to consider the municipal planning grant application and set a hearing date for proposed Underhill Land Use Regulation amendments. Larry is here, our town planner. Welcome, Larry. If you wouldn't mind coming up to the table here. Good to see you.
Yeah.
It's been a little while.
Has been.
Yeah.
Yeah, welcome.
So you have some information to go over with us tonight, Larry.
Yeah, I don't want to recap everything that the grant says, in part because this is essentially the same project as I submitted for last spring. Just as a background, state typically does a round of municipal planning grant requests or opportunities that are once a year. What was different is that they recognized that the online grants management system that they were using was messed up and almost impossible to use, and they had to fix it. And so the last round, which took place in March, and the deadline was April 1st, had been delayed by several months. It should have gone out in the end of 2024, and because of the technical problems, it didn't. So we did have a conversation at the Planning Commission about what kinds of opportunities we might want to seek funding for. And there were some good ideas that were floated, but I felt like, given the time frame and given the fact that there's now more money in the pool at the state level to fund these grants, that it might be actually best for us to resubmit, perhaps with a little bit clearer thinking and better writing, in the application than we were able to put in for last spring. But essentially, this project is proposing that we do a deep dive of public outreach and engagement with residents of Underhill to really dig deep into the idea of like, if we were going to change our zoning rules to allow the kind of higher density infill development for housing in particular in our two historic village centers, how much support would there be in the community for that? Like, would people in the community generally agree with the idea of smart growth planning, which is a concept that is at the center of our town plan, by the way, which was adopted, but also, take a couple steps beyond that and say, so given some of the information that emerged in the 2020 housing study that the town did with a previous municipal planning grant, what kinds of housing would people be comfortable supporting? What kinds of rule changes? What kinds of infrastructure would people be comfortable supporting to allow that kind of housing to go forward? Because at the state level, policymakers, including the legislature and this governor's administration, have recognized that municipalities have a lot of work to do to remove unnecessary bureaucratic and permitting barriers to allow more housing to be built where communities have said they want it to go, which is not to spread out over the countryside and build out every last bit of open land, but rather to concentrate development in our established village centers. And there's, I think, an underlying assumption, which I happen to agree with, that we can do infill housing in our village centers in Underhill in a way that respects the fabric of the vernacular, of the historic styles that are typical for existing houses and commercial buildings in the village centers, and does not overwhelm the scale that we are all comfortable with and that we value about our community centers. And it will reduce transportation emissions if people can live closer to services in the long run. It will make it easier to build community, particularly for kids to get to schools from where they live safely. It will create more energy and dynamism for existing businesses because more people living close by will patronize those businesses rather than go into Williston or Burlington to get their needs met. And so I think it's a win-win to support that idea. But what I've learned through hard experience in Charlotte in particular is that you really need to demonstrate that the people are with you. And to demonstrate that, you have to ask them a lot of questions and give them opportunities to be heard, to say what they envision for the village centers beyond what's already there. And that involves surveys, it involves small group meetings, it involves working with existing community groups to identify what priorities people may have going forward, and really give people a chance to be heard and to speak out on them. And so that's what this project is. That's what it would do if it's funded. Of course, we can't guarantee that it will be funded. It's just an application.
Right, Larry, I guess I'm very pointed as far as I don't see where the development really is going to take place in the flats. And I personally don't see where $30,000, if we spend to go along with the town of Jericho towards a joint project for wastewater, how that is going to benefit the majority of the residents of the town of Underhill in any shape or form. It may benefit a small number of residents that live along Park Street in from Park Street, north or, east, going along Route 15 to Meadow Lane or Dumas Road. But that's a very small percentage of the folks that live in the town of Underhill comparative to the rest of the residents.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that you can explain to me why you feel that $30,000 of the taxpayers' money is in the best interest of all of the residents of the town of Underhill to go into a project that seems like it should be heavily funded by just the town of Jericho, and why the town of Underhill should be even considering this.
So the $30,000 figure is based on what?
Your report here. Your memo to us says that you are looking for an application, MGM program, for an application of $30,000 for an individual municipalities for funded grantees to provide for a match up to 10% of the total grant for this wastewater. So I'm wondering I'm wondering how that is going to benefit the residents.
Can I clarify?
Sure.
On page 2 of this memo,
Yep.
because that caught my attention too, the $30,000, but on page 2 on the bottom under project timeframe and budget, It specifies the local match is expected to be about $1,900. Is
Okay,
that
Yes, and the
Right.
$30,000 figure is a maximum that any town in Vermont can apply for through this program, through the Municipal Planning Grant Program. But what I proposed here in the budget is for the state funding it to the tune of about $17,000 and change. And it's actually not directly tied to the project that you were just describing, the idea of building a community wastewater system that's Jericho is taking the lead on. Project is more about the community outreach and engagement piece. The Jericho wastewater project is definitely on the table for Jericho, and the budget and the cost of that have not been figured out yet. They're in the process of doing an engineering study to figure out what the actual cost would be. But there's some level of engagement and partnership with Underhill is going to be key to their ability to get approval for that project, in part because it looks like the best place to put the infrastructure in the ground for a lot of that treatment system is going to be on the Underhill side of the town line.
Could I add a comment as the chair of the planning commission? Bob?
Sure.
Should I come up?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if Larry and I are 100% tied out on this, by the way, but that's the beauty of democracy. I don't know. A large number of members of the planning commission, Larry can tell me if he disagrees with this, share your concerns about the Jericho project. Brad and I had a separate call with them. What we are doing, separate from this municipal planning grant, is we are working on a survey. And in that survey, I'll speak for me personally, not as chair, but just as a voter. I agree with a lot of what you said. What we are putting in the survey is specific questions to try to get to what you said. Like, if this raised your tax rate, how would you feel about it? If the wastewater system had to be in the middle school field, how would you feel about it? If it were to benefit, like, would this specifically benefit you? Like, we're trying to get to all the issues you're talking about in the survey, Bob. And what we'll obviously do, there's kind of two steps. Jericho wants to tie out with us on the survey. I think they don't love a few of the questions we put in, but we want them in.
So can you say, what does it mean to be tied out? The survey would be with them?
So Jericho wants, do I think Jericho wants us to do that? Yes. I think they would prefer that we send out one survey. I think Jericho wants to ask slightly different questions than we do. So I think they're trying to get wording identical on a few questions, but it's very important to me personally, I think you agree with this, Larry, that we're very specific on some of these things and that no one can say, oh, I didn't know about that. Specifically the school field and asking about tax increases and stuff like that. So we're having a call with Jericho. There's a planner from the CCRPC who's like on contract with them or something like that. Yeah. And she wants to do another call. We're going to send her, Larry is going to send her our survey. They want to look at it. They want to do a call. I'll tell you how the planning commission's thinking about it, and any guidance from you all would be great. We're thinking that it's very important that we make sure that we as Underhill, like what we think our planning commission cares about is in that survey. We don't think they need to be identical. And we were going to send the survey to you all, obviously, before we send it out for your approval. But I hear and actually personally share a lot of your concerns. And I think they will be expressed in the survey that we are proposing. You could see it and love it or hate it or have changes or whatever. But I'll tell you that everything you brought up has been discussed at the planning commission, and it's meant to be reflected in the survey we're going to send out.
Well, I hope so. And I hope that a conversation is going to take place with the school district and all of the members of the school district before a survey goes out to the town. Because I think it would be premature to ask somebody if they want a pony when you're asking other people if they want a bridle and a saddle. See, if they don't want it, if they don't want that septic system or development in the school district, then we are wasting an abundance amount of time.
I don't want to speak for Jericho, and Brad knows more about this than I do. I don't know what the rules are about Brad. But my understanding is the school district is ahead of us and has actually approved them digging little test pits for this thing. I think the party who is most concerned about this at the moment is the Underhill Planning Commission, of all the folks involved. Do you agree with that?
I would agree with that. It's of my opinion that anything that substantial would need a vote of the unified district. I don't think and that'll be challenged, or it should be checked whether the school board has the authority to do that or not.
And I would agree with that. And I believe that question itself should be raised before we go much farther down this path.
Well, we won't do anything you all don't want us to, but I just don't, I guess I'm whatever. I personally care that you see that I'm not, we as a planning commissioner are not trying to like go off I don't know what the phrase I'm looking for. We're not trying to like run around and do things that we think you wouldn't approve of.
No, and I appreciate that, but also what I'm trying to say is that, you know, we are putting a lot of, I guess, stock into the fact that we are proceeding with the fact that the school district is going to be on board with this. And I'm not sold on that. As a member of the school district, I haven't been asked, nor have I had any indication that they are even considering this. If the school district is going to be digging test pits, have at it. That's their property. They can do whatever they want on their property to find out what the capacity of septic would be on their field. But I would think that before it gets to that point of that they're going to say yes or no, that they would be asking, and I hope they're listening, the districts of all of the school district, Huntington, Bolton, and Richmond, including Underhill and Jericho, about that.
Brad told the planner from Jericho and the woman from the CCRPC that in the meeting we had with them.
Yeah, and it's just my thought. I mean, I was around when we were on the select board when the unified district was formed. There seems to be a couple things I think that are also being overlooked. It's kind of the cart before the horse. We have transportation issues. We have traffic. Just to let you know, the data I'm collecting on the Park Street sign, I see over 2,000 trips per day past that sign at the post office per day. And I don't know if that data is 100% correct, but it's very consistent. The days of, if you remember back when Jericho failed to notify us of the final hearing for the mill property, we pointed out the fact that they were using traffic studies that are based from 1972. And in the letter we all wrote to the DRB, we pointed that out. It was commonplace in our day to hop on the bus and go to school. Today, people seem to bring their kids to school all the time. So there's an increase of traffic. Villeneuve tried to put in a rehab gym in the old mill property. This was back 15 years ago, probably. V-Trans weighed in and said that the level of service was not good enough at the intersection where the Jolly was to support that. So it seems like you'd want to think about transportation, and you'd also want to think about the school and the vote, kind of lining those things up before you dump a bunch of money into wastewater.
Which Brad's not tooting his own horn, but he said all those things specifically on our call with Jericho. So the only thing we agreed to with Jericho was that Larry was going to send them our survey. They were going to look at it, and we were going to have a follow-up call. If you all would prefer that we pause on the survey until after something else happened with the school, which I am most certainly not an expert on, very happy to do that. Whatever route you all would prefer.
Absolutely, 100% as far as I'm concerned, because I think we absolutely are putting the cart before the horse.
Okay.
We haven't heard diddly poo from the school district.
Yeah.
Or the town of Jericho for that matter, right?
So until we hear from the school district, and I'm hoping that we hear from our representatives on the school district that come to the school select board on what's going on, I think we're sitting on it.
So we will pause on the survey regarding the wastewater project. Message loud and clear.
Yeah.
Now this grant, this is separate. I'm not trying to convince you, frankly, one way or the other. what this is intended is to do really is to be a follow-up on that 2020 housing study. You know, obviously every week in the news, you almost see something about housing in Vermont. So this is meant to be like, how do the people who live in Underhill feel about this? I know people care about housing. If you read our town plan, it also uses the term rural character like 7,000 times. So it's meant to just kind of invest our 19, if we get it, if Larry, we'll see if Larry did a good job. It would take our $1,900 in the States, 30 grand or whatever, and do surveys and stuff to see how folks feel, not about the Jericho project at all, but just as a follow-up to the 2020 housing study. I'm not trying to convince you to vote for it, but they're meant to be separate. I understand how they're kind of tied in general about housing, but they were not meant to be tied together
That's really
at
helpful.
all. So, yeah.
Yeah, in the town plan, just one other point on the planning grant application. So our town plan in Underhill says a lot of good words about building more housing and concentrating development in the two village centers. It sets 0 targets for doing that. And so there's 0 accountability for actually producing the type of development that we said we want in the town plan. And we were able to get away with that for a long time. Well, things have changed at the state level. And if you follow the news on Act 181 in particular, the legislature adopted this plan where communities are going to be required to set specific targets for housing. And Underhill has its target. It's been set for us in collaboration with Chittenden Regional Planning. And it does involve an increase in the pace of how many housing units we're building. And the Planning Commission is pretty solid on the idea that we want most of the new housing, which is needed, desperately needed in Underhill, as it's needed throughout the region and throughout the state, to go where it's most appropriate, which is to say in the existing growth centers, state-designated village centers that we have. We don't want the housing to sprawl out in the countryside. And so if we're in agreement on that basic idea that smart growth is an important and good idea to support going forward for the town, then this project as it's proposed gives us a means to really test the waters in the community. It doesn't presume to have the answers. It simply is a process of asking a series of questions and doing public inquiries that will give us a feel that we can quantify about whether there is strong support in town to move forward in this way. And we'll see, if you endorse this, which in order for us to submit this application, the select board has to vote to endorse it, and I think you have a form in your packet that needs signatures if you decide to do this. But if you endorse it, then we can go forward, present the application, see what happens. Maybe it'll get funded and maybe it won't, and we'll figure it out from there.
Go ahead, Patty.
So Larry, the questions that we would ask are related to the Harvest Crossing development?
No, really, no.
What would we be asking questions of? I'm still not with you.
Sure. So we did a project much like this in Charlotte when I was there in my last year, and with funding from the Municipal Planning Grant. And one of the questions had to do with showing people images of a variety of different housing types. So here's single family dwelling, here's duplexes, here's quadplex, here's small apartment building. Which of these housing types would you be comfortable with if it went up across the street from you? What types of housing do you and your family need going forward? So for example, you're going to get different answers from a young family, a growing family with young children, than you might from elders who are living in a large house that they no longer need that much space because their kids have grown and gone.
So are we teeing up the survey that the building target is near Park Street, Underhill Flats?
Mm-hmm.
Are we teeing this up as to where those areas are for development? Because if you ask me that question just blank, I don't want a triplex next to me out in where I live.
Yep.
It doesn't fit.
I think
if you ask that question relative to Underhill Flats, that's a different response.
Sure. And we can segment the responses we're getting by who's answering. So for example, we can look at, this was a set of responses we got from people who live in the town's rural districts. This is a different set of responses we got from folks who live in the villages. And that's just good information to have. It's good to know where people are coming from.
I'm still very confused.
So I think my understanding, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm reading this right, but I think it's basically saying that in our town plan, we approved certain types of development.
Exactly.
In specific development corridors.
Right.
And I think this survey is basically saying like, okay, what specifically does that look like? Like what if,
I want to hear that from Larry, because I haven't
Okay.
heard that yet.
and is that the right?
That's accurate,
It's
yeah.
like, okay, now that, like, if we're
You're
gonna
gonna-
actually
you're
put
gonna
this
say,
into action.
These are the targets we've identified in our town plan
Yeah.
of places to build.
Yes.
Because the response to that survey question is going to be very different than if you just leave it wide open. And that's why I asked the question.
We do need to get more specific. I mean, growth targets that are vague in general are not useful to anybody. And it doesn't provide guidance for the current and future planning commissions about how we need to tweak the regulations to make the kind of growth that people are comfortable with possible. And, you know, it is important to recognize that infrastructure is critical. So Brad spoke about the transportation infrastructure. That's a big issue, particularly in the Flats district. Capacity for water and wastewater is also critical. You know, you basically can't build affordable housing units if you also have to build on-site septic.
So what is the target date for Underhill? Enlighten me.
So the targets that were worked out with Chittenden Regional Planning are on a 2050 timeline. So
There were interim targets
there are
too.
2030 targets in 2050.
I could say that, so we're in the medium target zone, I think is believe what we took. There's a low and a high and a medium.
Yes, that's
Went to the medium. We are currently meeting our medium goal. I think it's 11 homes a year. ADUs count, so accessory dwelling units count
Yeah.
towards the unit. We are meeting those goals now. I think we'll slowly meet those goals. I do want to say that, you know, Act 181 created, you know, we have these village centers, these designated village centers
Exactly.
that are in Underhill Flats and Underhill Center. Act 181 created a buffer around those areas of a quarter mile. So these areas are like kind of growth centers, if you will. I would say that the soils are very good in the Underhill Flats area versus Underhill Center. The soils are very good. What I think Jericho's proposing, and maybe I'm totally off base here, but is an in-ground septic field, right? So right across from the town fire station or the Underhill Jericho Fire Station, there was just a septic design down there. It's in-ground. I talked to the consultant. They put an in-ground system in, tanks, lines, everything, all said and done, $12,000. It went right on their own lot in their own soil. So would you rather do that? And sure, you give up that area for septic and maybe you could put a unit there, right? So that's the mindset. But I'm just going to pipe my septic down to another in-ground field, whether it be at the school or in Villeneuve's airfield or wherever it may be. There's no difference, right? So, and also, you know, we do have a density issue because, you know, there's only so many units allowed in the Underhill Flats Village Center. The density is, what is it, acre zoning, right? Acre zoning, I believe. So, but you could put up to 5 units. Some people might not want multi. I'm in full support of the survey, and I think it's important to know how people envision seeing Underhill in the future, or what they see going forward.
That's
all people.
That's it
All people.
for me. And my only 2 cents I would add, Patty, is our town plan's up in like 3 years or something like that. And you hear about CCRP, Chittenden County is giving us these housing goals, housing's in the paper all the time. But to your point, how people feel about it, like specifically, if it's next to them versus if it's on the other side of town, like I think that would be very valuable to flesh out, particularly in advance of a new town plan that we're gonna have to do. Because I'll tell you what I saw in the last housing study was a lot of people saying, well, not a lot, but 10% of the town replied, that's not nothing. And they basically, a lot of them sort of said, yeah, I'd love to see housing, maybe not by me, though, maybe like over there. So I think digging into that, because a lot of people moved here, I moved here, me in a rural area, right? So I think like fleshing that out, specifically how people feel about things. So when it comes time to do the town plan, we can put out something that makes sense for Underhill for the next 8 years, 10 years, whatever. I think this would be a great start to that. That's my pitch for this.
So this takes a much deeper dive
Yes.
into what we've already done and what people have answered.
Yeah,
And a lot of time has passed too, right? Like people's views on housing, it's just been in the news just like relentlessly in the past 5 years. So maybe people's views have changed. I don't know.
I guess I'm just concerned.
Yeah.
That the appearance seems to be like, we continually kick the can down the road saying like, we want to put this in the development areas of the flats and the center.
Yeah.
I don't know where you're gonna put it in the flats, because I don't see the space of where, if you're going to build a multi-unit building, is going to be located, unless we're gonna start talking about, buildings leaving the village and being replaced with, what is going to, because that just seems like, if I live out on the back 40, I don't want to see the apartment building or the triplex or the quadplex or whatever plex it is in my backyard. I want it to be in the village.
Right.
Well, great. You want it in the village because you're near the schools and the infrastructure and everything like that. But where in the village are we talking about? Because I don't see it. Because you have a wetland area and all the available land has largely disappeared, unless we're going to make that village district area larger.
So we've also talked about how in Underhill, you could literally, and maybe this could be part of the grant too, Larry, I don't want to speak for you, but there's so few parcels that this probably applies to in some ways that it's almost like you could identify these 10 parcels and ask the landowners how they feel about it, right? Like there's all different kind of ways you could go with it. Because I agree.
I think it's important. One concept I'd just like to put in front of you to think about would be, we talk in the planning field about gentle density when it comes to building in historic villages. So we're not talking about taking down existing houses and putting up big apartment buildings. What we're really talking about is looking at lots that have deep backyards, where you might put convert a carriage house into an ADU or an apartment. You might, you already have the ability under state law, and one of the changes that's before us with a set of proposed regulation changes is to recognize that any single family dwelling can now become a duplex, can be rebuilt as a duplex without going through an elaborate permitting process. And our regulations right now are out of sync with that change in state law. And so we have to fix that because it's now allowable. And if there's a conflict between what the local regulations say someone can do and what the state law says, the state law will always trump the local regulations. So we'd be well advised to fix that along with some other fixes that we've proposed before anybody challenges it in court, because we don't want to fight this one out in court if the statute says that it's possible and legal to do. But so people can already convert single family dwellings, empty nesters take notice, into duplexes without going through an elaborate permitting process. And people can add up to the density that, as Brad was talking about. So if they have a deep lot, maybe they can take a single house and divide it into a duplex and then build another unit in the back. But we're talking about the concept of gentle density and infill housing because I think that's how it's going to go. I think that's what would work the best in the village districts. I think people would be more accepting of that model, and it can be done in a way that respects the historic vernacular of the buildings and the houses that are already there, so that it's not going to be jarring to see something once it's finished, and it will blend naturally. And we actually are started on a new set of regulations following from the housing study and the planning commission. And in the packet that I shared with the planning commission, I cut and pasted an image from the 2020 housing study that shows big house in the front of the lot, carriage house in the back, and it showed how you could basically get 3 units on that existing lot without changing the footprint at all. So you go from 1 unit single family dwelling to 3 units on the same lot with no significant visual impact whatsoever. So I think that's how most of the development will go in the village centers. There might be a developer who would look at a house that's been abandoned for several years, all boarded up, and say, well, I'd like to have maximum allowed 3 units on that, and it just makes more sense for me or 5 units. Tear it down and build something that looks good, that is an appropriate use of the land. And I think that, that again would be something that most people would approve of if it fit in with the architectural setting of the village.
So what incentive is there for someone that owns property in the village to want to do that?
I mean, I think that, yeah, it's, if you're an empty nester.
Money from who, from where? If I own a home
Yeah.
in the village,
Yeah.
I'm happy. Right? If I live there, I'm happy that I live there.
Mhm.
I don't necessarily need to own or add on an apartment building or an accessory dwelling unit. I'm happy. So, but the town has identified that we need to put the housing here.
Mhm.
So what incentive is there for me as a property owner in the village to say, okay, town, I will now consider putting in an accessory dwelling, or maybe I'll turn my home into a duplex. What is in it for me?
Well, I think it depends on your financial situation, right? If you're an empty nester and you're living on a fixed income, the idea of having an additional unit that you can rent out to a family that needs a place to live, it could be very attractive.
I get that part of it,
Mhm.
but I don't think they're going deep enough to say, like, how is it going to how are you going to incentivize someone to, want to take that step?
Well, I wonder if that's a question that could be in the survey. Like,
Right.
would you be more likely to turn your
Mhm.
single family to a duplex if there was a tax incentive from the town? Or
Correct.
something to that effect,
Exactly.
you
Sure,
know,
that's
right?
great.
That like,
Well, there's so few
But-
properties in the village that this study, and I think could get right to the root of all your questions. You could take each one individually, you can study it very easily. You could say, okay, here's the density, and we can't fill it 100%, right? But come up with some kind of density, and there's only so many parcels, you could analyze all of them. And then at the end, you could come up with a number, and then you could see how the people feel. I mean, it's going to answer your question, Bob. It's like, okay, I own a house. What's in it for me? Or without asking the question, you're not going to know. So I think it's useful information. And I think if it did go in depth with each parcel, you could figure it all out.
Because I think we really need to ask the people that own the property in the village.
Sure.
Of where you want to put this information, or where you're trying to concentrate your fire.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's, there's also the step of, you really need to get buy-in from the rest of the town. Because, I will tell you from my hard experience in Charlotte that what we're talking about here become political hot potatoes. And it becomes very easy for people who don't want to look across the field and see more housing going up, even if it's a really modest development, like just a duplex. It's really easy for people to take a hard edge opposition to proposals to build. And so part of what this project would do is it would test the waters for what kinds of development people would support, and it would develop some quantifiable numbers about the level of public support for that kind of thing, because you are going to get people who will be unalterably opposed to any changes whatsoever. And they can be very vocal, and they can muck up the works. They can appeal projects that are approved according to the regulations that fit the law and fit the standards of the town, just because they can, and they want to stop something that they don't want to look at out their living room window. So, there is, I think, an opportunity doing this kind of deep dive and public engagement to ask good questions, to develop some data about what people in town want to see. And then that becomes the basis going forward for knowing what the Planning Commission should be focusing on in our efforts to update the regulations. Because without that kind of information, we're going based on personal preferences and ideas, and those are great. But if we know that we have the majority of the town behind us to proceed with these changes, we're going to be in a much better position. And I think you, as a select board, will be more informed when you're making decisions about proposed changes and regulations.
What I'm hearing is that you're not imposing, what the planning commission or the CCRPC or whoever wants them to do with their property. You're making it possible for them to dream.
Yes.
Am I right?
That's right. And regulations, just take a few steps out and look at it from the 10,000-foot view. Land use regulation should neither favor development nor block it. They should give property owners in town who have invested in their properties and tried to make it nice, they want to contribute to the community, and they want to build the community, they should make it possible for people to dream and to make plans and know with regulatory certainty if they're going to propose something, to build something that it has a fair chance of being approved, that it's a level playing field, and that it's going to be decided based on the merits and not based on personalities or whatever. So that is what we strive for in the planning commission. We strive to have regulations that are transparent, make sense, and are not internally contradictory, and are in line with state statute.
Great. So with that all being said,
Yes.
we are running behind and I want to be mindful of our agenda. I'm not prepared to go and vote on the grant application. When would the grant application need to be approved and signed?
Its due date is November 3rd, so I don't think you have any other select board meetings scheduled between now and then. And I'm leaving town next week, so it's got to be done before then if it's going to go in.
Okay.
If we were to approve asking for funds, we have time to look at the survey questions,
Oh, yeah.
review exactly what's going out.
Absolutely,
And we don't even know if we're gonna get the funds.
absolutely, yeah.
So that this is
I'm all for the grant, but I am not in favor of the grant and having any money associated with doing a study with the town of Jericho as it relates to the village and the wastewater. So if there is, if that's totally separate, I want to be clear with that.
Promise, totally separate.
That could be in your motion, Bob.
And we're gonna freeze the Jericho survey stuff right now for our earlier, we're not gonna do anything on that until Fred tells me, that we heard from the school board and blah, blah.
Okay.
And I would like to make part of the motion that we get a chance to see the survey, because the survey questions are gonna be big to the community. I just want to make sure that.
Oh, yeah, of course.
That's
There's
your-
no
I
way
don't
we're
wanna
not gonna
micromanage
pencil
you
you
guys.
with the survey, Patty.
That's your MO, right?
That's also gonna be like a research exercise,
Yeah,
a
but
good
it's-
research exercise as well.
Yes.
But how the questions go out
Yes.
is really important,
Super
because that sets, if I get a survey, we're gonna have a development next door?
Yeah. We're very mindful of that. And we were not going to release a survey until we had better information to share.
Yeah.
That's a given.
So we will absolutely keep you, two things. One, nothing to do with Jericho, that's on hold. Two, as part of this, if we're lucky enough to get the money, we will make sure the select board is involved very early in setting the route for it. And then also show you the question.
Wait,
I guess I just want, I don't want to belabor this thing, but you'll see also I included email correspondence I had with Paula.
Yeah.
yeah, so
And there, she asked me some very pointed questions that didn't kind of seem like Paula, but nonetheless, I got some questions from her. And I don't know if you had a chance to look at those questions, but I think after hearing what you had to say tonight, I could safely get back with her.
I think you can.
Okay.
So whatever grant application you are submitting, you need to pull out that reference to Jericho and.
It's really just speculation. There's nothing fixed in there, no commitment at all to that project.
But
So it doesn't need to be in the application then.
exactly.
So I want that removed from, I would want that removed from that application altogether. I don't want any sense of that in there.
The stage that we're working with them on some stuff and we're not there yet.
So if you, I'm willing, like, if you want to redesign that and get that back, I'll call a special select board meeting to discuss this grant, unless you're prepared to go with a motion.
I would suggest making the motion with removing reference to Jericho and the wastewater facility in the grant application.
I can do that. Yeah, absolutely.
That way we just,
Is that your motion?
yes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Ready for the question? All those in favor of approving the municipal resolution for the grant, municipal grant application with the caveat that we are removing any sense of the town of Jericho and the wastewater for the village and with the school district, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, the nay. Motion carries 5-0. We're getting close, Larry.
Thank you very much.
So the next thing is that to set a hearing date possibly for a proposed Underhill Land Use Regulation amendment.
Can I give one overarching comment on this?
I hope you will.
Okay. Thank you. Where is the expert? Well, I mean, I was involved obviously, but Larry is the real expert in all the details. it was obvious from the public comment, but I just think it's probably helpful for you all to know. Of these 4 changes, the only ones we received public comment on was sawmills. And we did receive, for the planning commission, maybe not from the select board, we did receive substantial public comment. We had folks come in multiple times. Gordon came in, Nick and Heather came in, Ross came in, who lives across the street. Anyway, Dave and Pam Sills came in. So just so you know, of these 4, no public comment on any of them except for the sawmills one. So I felt like we should just make sure you're in the loop as to what people expressed, the public expressed concerns about. So,
So by law, we need to set a hearing if you're, right, 1 hearing, Larry?
Yeah.
1 hearing. So, and it needs 15 days notice. So it's important, if you want to consider something like this, in November, we need to know so the warning is appropriate.
And just again, on process alone, the select board can, following that 1 public hearing, if you look at the drafts and you decide you want to make substantial changes to the drafts, you are required by law to hold a 2nd public hearing on the revisions. You're also required to share your changes back to the planning commission so they have an opportunity to comment. If you think that the regulations are as drafted are sound, and you, based on the feedback that you get at your first public hearing, you feel like you're ready to go and pull the trigger on them, you have the authority under statute to just adopt them as is. So that's basically the process. If you can make changes, but it has to go through additional public hearing and process.
So I'm not prepared then to set a hearing date because I have not reviewed this in that level of detail to be able to enter in any possible revisions that I may have as relates to these proposals. I don't know if anybody else has to that level of detail, but I can speak for myself when I say I'm not there yet, but I can be.
Yeah, they're pretty
shortly.
detailed for sure.
Yes,
Totally
yes.
understand.
And we would have the same deliberation framework.
Not
After the
really.
evidence, it's a different kind of
It's a different kind of,
hearing.
it's a different kind of hearing.
Can I
You would need to
ask-
make,
Sorry, no, I didn't mean to.
I would just say you need to, as Larry said, if you're going to make any substantive changes, you need to do that in the form of a motion, change it. And if they are substantive enough, like I said, go back to the planning commission, then a 2nd hearing. But I think it would behoove you to take your time and read them and.
Yeah,
and
I
And
become very
then I would
familiar.
agree with Bob that I'm not prepared to do that either. If we had, time to talk about them, revise, whatever, after the hearing, that's a different story. But if the hearing's the thing.
But also,
I
these guys have been, I will throw in a chip for these guys have been working really hard to get these up to speed. So perhaps maybe at the next meeting, if you had time to review them and see how you feel, or see if there's an
That's fair.
appetite to
I
hold a
think
hearing.
I think that would be fair to give the board an opportunity to say like, it's important that the board really take the time to review this. And if there are going to be any changes that they come prepared for that. So if that could be in the next agenda and in the packet, then now the board is aware. And we can.
And any questions
hopefully-
you have should be, directed to Larry or myself or Brian or
Yeah, and
Maya.
I will say that one of the documents that we posted to the project page on the website about these proposed changes is a very detailed step-by-step guide. It's called like a user's guide. And what I endeavored to do in that was to state not just here's what we're proposing to change, but what's the purpose of this change? What is the rationale for doing it? And if you adopt this, what would be the effect of it? To just get really right down to
That's in the packet.
brass tacks. It's in the packet. And it goes through each one of the 4 proposed sets of changes that way, so you have that information. And by the way, I think a lot of times select boards are influenced by what they hear at the public hearing. So you may have your own set of views on it after you dive into it, but then you may hear something at the public hearing that causes you to change your thinking a little bit, and that's appropriate and that's great. I mean, that's why you have a public hearing. That's why it's a required step in the process. But I also feel like, part of what we try to do in the planning commission level is to really work through the language so that it's straightforward and provides a clear regulatory template for future projects that will come before the Development Review Board, because we want them to have, basically a clear set of rules to follow. And also for this benefit of residents, we want people to understand, what do they have to do to get a permit if they want to follow this particular standard that in some cases has not existed up until this point. And, just finally that, this is something, all four of these sets of proposals have been thoroughly vetted by our town attorney. And I think in general, what I can say, what you have in front of you are clean copies of each of them that reflect the revisions and suggestions from the town attorney. But I think you can know that if you were inclined to approve these changes following the hearing process, that we would be on firm legal ground that these are in compliance with state statute and that they don't contradict anything in case law, because that's what we pay the town attorney to look at. And that's what he did. And I've worked with Dave Rue before, and he is absolutely ace. You can trust his advice. He absolutely knows what he's talking about.
Thank you, Larry.
So will we have time to do a back and forth on this? Because one thing, I can go home and study this and read it. I'm gonna have a bunch of questions.
Sure.
It helps to have a dialogue.
Maybe we should have a separate meeting just on this for the board to go over that. That's separate from the regular agenda.
I think that would be really helpful, because this it's a lot.
Larry, I mean, obviously I'm happy to come and participate as well. Larry's he's so familiar. He's really good at walking you through it and making your head hurt less.
Excellent.
And reading his step-by-step guide.
Yeah, and you said that's on our website?
Yeah,
Separate
that's
than
on
what's
the
in the
budget
packet?
packet.
Why don't we do that? Why don't we at the end, we'll work on a date and time where we can have a working session. And we can go specifically over that and limit it to just that.
That's fine. I'm happy to staff that meeting and answer your questions. And I think it's actually much better, as Bob has proposed, to have a separate meeting from the public hearing that will allow us a chance to walk through this, because I as a town staff, don't not want to take time in the public hearing to go through this in the level of detail that you probably want, because it's not fair. It's not fair to the public who shows up at the hearing to take time from their opportunity to comment. So I'd rather do it with you in an open session where, we can have a free exchange of ideas and questions and answers.
Larry, you said you're going on vacation. When are you coming back?
Well, I'm away for a week starting next Wednesday.
Okay.
And then I'm also away for a week in December from the 10th to the 16th. So if you can schedule this around those times.
So
November what?
I'm gone October 29th through November 4th, and then from December 10th through the 16th.
All right, we'll crack our calendars and then we'll try to figure out a day that works for hopefully most.
Yes.
Brian, if you're available, if you want to participate, love to have you.
Before we move on, can I just ask a quick clarifying question?
Sure.
The language of what's in here, of these proposed amendments, this is what is sort of like endorsed by the planning commission, is recommending for approval.
We worked on it, then we held public sessions for people to come. Well, the public came anyways in the interim, but then we held the official one. Then we took that and sent it to the town lawyer, and he made some pretty minor comments, sent them back. We incorporated those at our last meeting, then we sent them to you.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
So it has been pretty thoroughly vetted.
So you haven't done.
All right. We gotta keep rolling.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for all your hard work.
We appreciate your time.
It's a lot, I know.
Enjoy your vacation, Larry.
Thanks.
All right.
Thank you, Larry.
Am I gonna need to do that thing here? It's probably, we'll talk tomorrow.
Okay.
If you're on.
Yeah.
All right, next item
Do you need
is
to
to discuss our insurance renewal. Jennifer, I see, has been patiently waiting to come up and talk to us. Hi, Jennifer.
Hello.
How are you?
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hola, everybody. If I can share my screen.
Yep, yeah.
I'm ready to whip right through this, people.
Excellent.
Exactly, yay.
Once my
If
computer,
anybody can, you can.
and once my computer comes up.
We believe in you.
we go. So now how do I
Once,
make it
in terms
share?
of, just thinking about agenda items next, after Jennifer, do we want to see if perhaps we do Tomasi Meadow before we get to Russ? Since I see
Am I,
Anthony's
then how
here.
do I, am I
Yeah,
in
but
it?
I also don't want to keep Russ. I don't want to keep you late either, Russ. but-
So we're, I would rather, stick with the agenda.
Okay,
Okay,
There you go.
all right, you ready, people?
let's do it.
You want me to, hang on, I can hide everyone here.
Okay, so this is just about the medical insurance, not about vision insurance, not about anything else. So we have to have a decision to Acrisure as to which medical plan we're going to use for calendar year 26 by November 1st. Enrollment changes by employees by December 5th. Once we have the plans and everything signed, then I go out to the employees to see if anyone wants to change their plan, you know, maybe somebody got married or, you know, any, whatever. Brad, maybe Brad's got to add a few kids to his plan. And then the new employee notification goes out and it goes onto our webpage. Sorry. Anyway.
As she's laughing, she apologized.
So before I get into, the next slide, which now I'm gonna see how I do this. Hold on. If I'm gonna share my
Set
slide,
your arrow.
I gotta go to my,
Is it a PDF?
it's your PDF. Yeah.
Just hit the arrow,
Oh, gosh, hold on.
your side arrow. In the PDF. See that little, see the up and down?
I'm in the everyone thing. I'm not,
See the little arrows there?
No.
Oh, you gotta progress it in your, is it on your desktop?
oh, yes, hold on.
So just go to there and
Okay, I'm closing that.
you should be able to just hit your arrow. That should work too.
Okay, it didn't. That's not working. So, okay, hold on, maybe this worked. Okay, so before I go into the Vermont statistics, did that work?
Yeah.
Just a couple quick national trends, which I think are important to know. There's been a huge push to try and reduce the cost of healthcare that has been trending at unbelievable national rates. Just to give you one statistic, inflation in 2022 was 74%, which was already high. Medical care was 120% and hospital services over 200%. That's the national trend. Now look at the Vermont. Vermont, to put it bluntly, is so far above the national average that we're almost off the chart. What our premium for a single individual person is $1,277 and the national average is $497. Why? Because we're rural. People don't get healthcare until they're in a crisis. We don't have a lot of hospitals. We have an aging population. There's tons of reasons. The reason that all healthcare went as high as it went in the last couple of years was largely influenced because everybody got on these LGP1 injections and all kinds of injectables went through the roof. So now there's legislation. The Green Mountain Care Board had huge legislation. I highlighted on here House Bill 266, which is now capping injectables. Infusion drug reimbursement is being capped at 120%. That in itself is what allowed the Green Mountain Care Board to say to Blue Cross Blue Shield, who requested a 23.5% increase. Green Mountain Board said, nope, we're going to cap the injectables. That changed it to a 9.6% average. That's what's making healthcare even the increase, even pseudo makes sense for this next year. So that's kind of like the framework for where we're headed. Here's the numbers for us, which I actually have to say I was pleasantly surprised. We're on this BEB plan, which is the Business Edge plan, which is the captive insurance plan. We offer medical insurance to our employees, and then we also have an HRA. Our HRA is not a fixed amount. It caps at whatever the deductible is and the out-of-pocket. And sorry, I'm overheated. Got so excited about healthcare, I'm sweating. Or maybe it's warm in here.
You don't have an
It's
injectable
warm
over
in
there,
here.
do you?
I might need some injectables. I don't know. It feels warm in here. So,
My hot flash was contagious.
no, I
I
don't,
had
I
one
don't
a few
get hot
minutes ago.
flashes. The plan that we have now under the current line, you can see that I can't, I can zoom in a
Blow it
little.
up.
Hold on. Nope, hold on. Let me blow this up a little for you guys. So the current plan, you can see, that's what we're on right now. That to the employees is the Blue Cross Blue Shield Gold plan, okay? That's that column one that says current. Keeping things the same is the renewal, which is that second column. Or you could.
So it would be a 6.97% increase.
It is a
if we kept-
6.9% increase if we just
Okay.
switch, which is, by the way, if you look at what I recommend, what we do. But just so you can quickly understand why, if we stay with the Blue Cross Edge plan, these other three columns on the right are the other options. If you look at the bottom, you can see, oh, well, that second one looks like it would be a good deal because it's actually a reduction in our premium of 3%. But if you then look at the top under what I highlighted for the deductible, you'd have to add that on. Okay, so it would be a huge increase.
Right.
So of the Blue Edge plans, the one we're on is the best plan. So now the next slide, really quickly here, I tried to make this as simple as possible. Again, the one with the star on it is the plan, would be renewing the plan we have at the 6.9%. If we were to leave the Blue Cross Edge and go out to the Health Connect and go get the same gold plan, not part of the Blue Edge, it would be a 26% increase.
Yeah.
Okay,
Ouch.
if we went and switched to MVP, it would be a 14%. So you can see that it doesn't make sense. And then you're like, oh, okay, then let's forget the gold plan. Let's go down to the silver plan. Oh, it's only a 2%, but look at the deductible up above. It's more than double. So that would increase the HRA. So we're looking at those two factors. So now, next slide, as you can see, here it is all wrapped up, as simple as I could put it. This is the impact of the premium and the HRA. And if you look at the plan we're in, the annual cost would be a $9,000 increase versus the other that are all significantly higher.
Wow.
So I am happy to go over this with anyone in any other additional detail, but I think it's pretty clear to me that the renewal is our best option for 2026. It's a 6% or so increase over last year. And it saves us at least $10,000 from the next one that's in next closest increase. I think we need to have another conversation after budget season and talk a little bit about going forward, how we want to handle medical costs. I did some quick numbers and I can tell you that based on our budget for fiscal year 26, which is the year that we're in, our wages for the town of Underhill, just employee wages, are about $785,000. Add to that insurance, taxes, and benefits of about $285,000. We're over $1 million cost of labor. I come from the business world. $1 million and our budget is $4 million. It's about 25% of our entire budget. Then think about the road stuff and all the projects on the road. So, if you think about these things, the numbers are getting really high. And the thing that a lot of municipalities are doing, and I am in no way advocating that we change this for the employees that we have, but when we're talking about hiring new people, or those of us, almost our whole staff is in their 50s, when we start to look at attracting younger people, and they're wanting higher wages, that this is the time where you start looking at, okay, do we cap the HRA? Do we change the payment in lieu of percentage? What can we do so that this continual, way higher than inflation, these double-digit numbers don't hit us every year? Because as a town, we cannot sustain medical costs like this.
I would like to ask if perhaps after budget season, kind of like we talked about with the last topic, that we have a special meeting specifically on this. I think it might be helpful to be, just because there is so much, and I feel like you have done a lot of work on options. And I think it's hard in a regular meeting to have enough time to really dive into those questions and get enough feedback. But
why don't we plan on doing that in the beginning of April? If by that time, if there are anyone, or if there are new members of the board, they would have been acclimated by couple sessions.
Yep.
And then we can
Start
maybe
the conversation.
hit it right off the go with, if there are new members on the board, that we could probably look at that maybe in April. And I agree that.
I'll
I
put it
think
in my
that-
tickler.
That'd be great. So with that being said, I move that we go with the renewal, the 2026 Blue Advantage
Blue Edge.
Blue Edge
For business.
for Business plan as laid out by Jennifer. Is there a second?
Second that.
Any other discussion?
Thank you as always for all your due diligence.
Absolutely. And I'm assuming that that motion also authorizes me to work with Acrisure and Blue Cross to get the signatures that we need to do that.
We'll go over that in just a second. So if there's no other discussion, are you ready for the question?
Yes.
All those in favor of going with the Blue Cross Advantage Business Plan as laid out in the packet, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, the nay.
I just did.
Motion carries 5-0. If it's the consensus of this group, we will authorize Jennifer to move forward in the necessary direction to make this all happen for the town of Underhill. Is there any opposition to that? Hearing none, then
Good idea.
that will be the consensus of the select board to allow Jennifer to move forward with the necessary paperwork and to get that plan going for our employees.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next on the agenda.
Thanks for being organized.
Oh, I talked fast.
Russ, you're up as the highway supervisor items and updates.
I'll make it quick as well. So just some efforts to let you know what we're all been up to since the last meeting. We started continuing on Blakey Road, doing ditching and stone. We did find the culvert to replace. We replaced the culvert. We found some danger trees on Blakey Road that were like, wow. Ended up getting on a limb to come down this morning and got those trees down for us, and we picked them up. So those are all taken care of. We graded Silly Hill, Sam Ward, Mount Vista, Blakey, and Sugar Hill, touched up Sugar Hill. We should be pretty much caught up. We've got a few roads we got to do still, but everything's in pretty good shape and hard, so we're not going to tear them up this close to winter. We've touched a few up, but we're gonna not do any full gradings. Our lumber's been delivered for the fuel shed. All the signposts, signs are in. Let's be working on those. We took a couple days and got the 2018 truck ready for resale. And we posted it, and the next day we sold it.
Sweet. How delightful.
So we have a deposit, and I've talked with the guy's bank, and he is FedExing us a check for the remaining, which we should have by tomorrow or Monday.
Well done. That's awesome.
When will we find out how much?
When you asked me, I don't know if you wanted to hear.
Well, I don't know if you want to
Not yet.
disclose
I
that.
don't
Yeah,
know if we want to do
Not
that
yet.
quite yet.
Not yet. Okay.
it was good.
Thank you.
Good job, Russ.
All right.
Very good.
Thank you.
Good job.
Well, thank you to you and all. I assume everyone had a part in that and
Yes.
getting it ready and cleaning it all up and putting the appropriate necessities in there to
Yep.
make it all work. So thank you to all.
Everybody worked really great together and got it done. The last thing, unfortunately, our paving contractor to do our paving patches that we hired or contracted with is not going to be able to do it before winter. Just basically either overbooked or weather related, but there hasn't really been much bad weather, so I don't know. Said he would continue to try, but did not feel that we could get it done before winter, which is unfortunate, but
So what does that mean as far as before winter and not having this stuff ready to go? I'm just, I guess I'm concerned with the conditions of the roads getting potentially worse because now this work isn't getting done.
I don't think it's gonna get any.
Do it in the spring, it'll get a good job. And
It'll
if
be
there's
fine.
any cold patching that needs to happen,
Yeah. We can touch up. a
Is
few
he,
spots.
is this individual, I shouldn't have said he, is this individual a party ready to go come springtime or are they
He claims
completely
he will
out?
be. He'll Be first on
This is
that.
the same group that did the crack sealing
Yes.
so well.
Yep.
I would trust them then.
I didn't know if we had to bring that out to bid or anything, or if we just
We already
continuation.
Or you did, and it'll be within the fiscal year as long as he gets it done before June 30th.
All right.
It's unfortunate, but I don't think it's not the end of the world in my eyes. Getting trucks ready for winter, doing that here and there as time allows. And we'll be starting on Silly Hill next week, doing a ditching and a culvert job up there. Probably Tuesday-ish, we'll be starting up there.
Are the roads all graded, ready for winter?
You said that. You didn't hear me?
What'd you say?
I said I told what roads we graded in the last couple weeks. We do have a couple
Where
roads.
was I? Was I some results?
We have a
I think
couple,
so.
we have at least
Pick
one
daisies.
road that I know that you know very well that we gotta do prior to winter when the next
Oh,
good
do
day.
Silly Hill before you come over there.
Silly Hill is done.
Oh, well, there you
Reported on that
Did you
last.
say Silly Hill was it?
go. I was here in this universe when he said that. But thank you for bringing, make sure I was here in this universe.
Silly Hill is first on the list. But
I may be
our
tired.
roads are in very good shape. There's a few spots, but they're good and solid. We don't really want to tear them up this time of year prior to plowing, so. Everything's in really good shape. Everything's going well.
Awesome.
Excellent.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep.
One question that I
Sure.
had is I believe in our budget for this year, we had allocated funds for, I don't know if it was an architect or someone to come and take a look at the garage and start to think about what might be necessary down the road. And I don't know that winter's the great time and all your abundant
Actually,
free time in the winter, but
It might be.
I just want to make sure that that is somewhere on the radar to get planned out.
It is.
For,
It's-
oh, good.
Yeah.
I just hadn't heard anything, so I wanted to ask.
Good job bringing that.
We have
Okay.
not, we haven't talked to anybody. We've had some internal.
Okay,
We have planted some seeds, but
okay.
nothing official quite yet, but
I
that
want to
will,
make sure it was on the radar.
that will be happening.
And I'm still
Thanks for hanging on to
compiling,
that phone.
Yeah,
I'm still compiling a bunch of information we had already.
okay,
I think that's important before you get somebody in and said, here's what we got.
yeah.
Yep.
You have
And
to,
actually, winter might not be a bad time for that because we plow and sand really. So we got some time in
Yeah.
between those.
So I will be moving later in the agenda to discuss, my plan is to have a future select board meeting very shortly, within the next 2 or 3. We'll be having a select board meeting at the town garage. We've done that in the past, and I think it's good for everyone to go there and see the equipment and the challenges that they may be facing over there, and to, change it up every once in a while. So I think it'd be good for us to take the show on the road, so to speak. So that will be coming sometime probably in November.
and I think
We'll
since
just
I
need to
did it
figure-
once, it's tradition that I bake for those meetings.
Yes. I think it's
Those were good
expected.
cookies. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
And we have a Blackstone now, Dan.
All right.
All right, any questions for Russ before we go to our friend Anton?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Anton, it's always great to see you. You're next. The Tomasi Meadow and the proposed ski track lighting and continued discussion. I promise I'm here. I haven't left the building. I'm in this universe, so as am I.
We got 2 versions of you tonight, on the screen and in
It is,
person.
yeah, I thought it'd be better to,
Thanks for that.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
yeah, you're welcome. No, my pleasure. Let's see, Anton Kelsey, Pleasant Valley Road Recreation Committee. Back with a couple updates on the Tomasi Meadow lighting project, and then looking for, a little advice from you about how best to move forward. The 2 major things that we've determined since we last met was that, in terms of Vermont Land Trust, that this is something that fits within the allowable use for that, so we don't need to get any extra permission from them. We talked to, was it Rebecca
Yeah.
Roman? And she verified that that is allowed. The second piece is we checked in with Maya Holmes about permits, and we don't need any permits because of the temporary nature of the project. So in terms of allowable pieces, it's all allowed. It fits in that realm. The other thing that we have done is informally reached out to many of the landowners who abut. Nothing's official or on the record, but kept people up to date on what we're doing in the process.
did ask for people's opinions and if they had any questions. I don't want to report out for that because it's not that anything's official on record, but we're in the process of doing that. The one question I have in the piece that you brought up last time was, best ways to get public comment, because I know you were looking for input from the community in a more public forum. And there's a couple ideas for that. Is one, we could do something at a recreation committee and then report back here of what comes up from that. Or we could do something at this venue, which is obviously more direct feedback to you. So, I feel like if we do a rec committee type of thing, it puts that meeting as sort of like a middle person, if you will. So I think the question is, A, are you still looking for, would you like to have a more large public comment period to get input from the community? And if so, what's your preferred venue for that? Would you like that to be at a select board meeting? Would you like it to be at a separate meeting or at a recreation committee meeting?
So my preference is to have it at the select board and to have it scheduled, if possible, for our next scheduled select board meeting, to have a hearing similar to that we had tonight for Mountain Road, that we warn it and, put it on and, give the public an opportunity for a half hour or whatnot to, come in and say they support or they don't, or to ask questions that, we may not be able to answer, but we can certainly, jot down and, try to get the answers to the public that have questions. And it would be great if there was a, question and answer, that you guys may have to answer some of those types of questions that could either be put on our website or in a sheet for folks, ahead of time, so that, it answers some of those basic questions as far as like, I know you reported back saying like, what days of the week are you talking about and how frequently are we going to do this and what time is the lights actually going to go out and what time are they going to go on? Those type of things come to mind as far as right off the bat, and then, can go from there.
I think I'd recommend, I'm sorry, hang on, Peter.
No
Just got
problem.
a minute here. We can't, a lot of background noise. I would suggest, so if this were, say, going a DRB route, you would send a notice out to the abutting landowners. And the abutting landowners would be anybody that touches the land and also abutters that are across the town highway. So if we include Casey's Hill and Tomasi Meadow, maybe just a simple mailing to those folks.
I'm not opposed to any of that. I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
Mhm.
And we can work on it.
And we have time frame to do that for the next meeting.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be, it's no formal process, but I think if we got it out early next week, then people got plenty of heads up on the 13th of November.
And maybe a separate post on Front Porch Forum in addition to the regular agenda.
Same thing.
Mhm.
So,
And are you thinking this is a try it out for a season and then get feedback? Because like one of the things is going to be is how bright is it?
Right.
And that will be, I think, what people think about it. And there's no way to know until we actually do it.
Yeah, and I did appreciate Maya's, clarifying that the lights, the directionality of the lights is very specific, and I think that would
Yeah.
also be helpful information for people.
Yeah.
Russ is gonna take all the trucks and put them all around the field. We're gonna turn the lights on and then the people are gonna drive by. It's gonna be kind of like Christmas time.
so is Peter with you?
Ski.
That's right.
Peter Davis has a question. I don't know if he's
Well,
with you.
this is not a discussion. This is if Peter would like to comment during the closing public comment period, that would be great. But I'm not prepared to have the public weigh in. This is to give Anton an opportunity to give us an update on the discussion, but I'm not prepared to have the public weigh in.
I was just asking if he was with Anton, that's all.
Okay.
So I have one question of Anton.
Yeah.
You proposed for the lights on the utility poles.
That's something we need to investigate.
Have you asked the utility folks?
We haven't
Because
yet.
there's a pole attachment fee for that.
Yeah, I know
I come from the utility world.
those are some things we haven't fully investigated yet for that piece, but that's something we do need to do.
We need to know the cost of that.
Yep.
If there is, maybe they would waive it, which would be great, but typically they charge for anybody attaching to a pole because it adds weight and there's a cost associated with it.
Yeah.
You're not thinking about tapping off the pole, just putting it.
No.
Just attaching.
So they, just at a side note, they did let us, Green Mountain Power let us put all the banners on the poles. They were fine with that.
Oh,
We asked them.
Yeah, that's a certain.
Lights are a little different.
Yeah.
Hopefully they
Yeah.
would say yes if it's a small light, but it's something to ask.
Any other discussion for Anton? No?
Thank you for
Thank you, Anton.
coming back. and
The one
reporting
other thing
that.
just to
Yeah.
put on your radar that was in Rebecca's note is the management plans for Tomasi Meadow and Casey's Hill are all long since expired. They were all 1-year interim plans.
Mhm.
So at some point, we just need to have a discussion about how this body wants to update those. I know in the past, it's been work of this body with the Conservation Committee and Recreation Committee weighing in to do that, but
If you could have a proposed recommendation from conservation and recreation for us, if they like what, if that worked well, and get feedback from both of them, that would be helpful, I think, for us.
sure, we can do that.
You know, if what we have is working and the recommendation is to continue on with that, then let's do it for another year, or maybe we'll want to do it for 5 years. I don't know, but it would be helpful to get input from both committees to find out just a weather report as far as, we're looking to have to, update this. So your feedback would be important.
Sure. Sounds good. All right.
Okay.
Thanks,
Cool.
folks.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
much.
All right, thanks.
Russ probably won't be going out in the field with his trucks. All right, town administrators report.
Just bear with me a second here.
We're only a half hour off. No pressure, Brad.
I know.
Take your time.
So, okay, Butler Road turnaround. So I'm gonna schedule a surveying for the same day as the sidewalk wetland deletion survey, see below. I'll talk about that when I get down there. Robinson property, nothing new to report as of October 17th. I'm gonna try to solicit out some other contractors and see what I can do. I'm doing my best, but there's a lot of other things going on. More particularly, Bridge 7, and Mike's here if you wanted to come up. So the Underhill sidewalk, so I met with Tina Heath. She's the Wetlands Division person for our district. We had two small areas, north and south of Bridge 8, which is right up here. So I contracted with Arrowwood, and a wetland ecologist actually came out today. They were going to come out Tuesday, but they got rained out. So they came out today, and we found two very small wetland areas. So I don't think it's going to be an issue, but there's basically about 20 flags to locate, which should take all of 20 minutes to do. So I'm going to have the surveyor, the project surveyor that did the topography for us, come back out, locate those, and then jump up to Butler Road and map that at the same time. So there's no more than half a day's work there at best. So I think that's coming along well. And as soon as we have that on a map, I'll send that to the ecologist, make sure they agree with what was picked up. And then we'll send it to Tina Heath for review, and we can continue on our way with engineering sidewalk. Bridge 7. So I'll just speak for a minute here, and then anything you want to weigh in. So Mike and I have met with all the landowners. So we have 3 landowners that we need to deal with. The northwest corner, the southwest corner, and the north or southeast corner. The 3 people we need things in particular from, and basically the parties on the west side, we need temporary, I even hesitate to call it an easement, but a temporary permission to use their space to stage construction during construction. So once the construction's over, we don't need their property anymore. Any maintenance that needs to be done can all be done within the right of way of the road. Now on the east side of the road, we do have one particular place where we need that temporary permission, but we also need a permanent easement. So I talked about in here that we were solely relying on tax map information. I wasn't sure about the right of way of the road and whether this particular person actually owned that property. But oops, what is this coming? But I took a little stab at doing some research, and I don't think that's worth pursuing. I think that based on what I see, it's pretty old, but I think that there was an old 6-acre piece there, and it was basically encompassed the brook and the two edges of the right of way. So I don't think it's worth hiring a surveyor to dive in deeper to see if we can find anything. I'm sure the problem is or not the problem, but the situation is we have Dean Road, which is a 3-rod right of way. Pleasant Valley, it's a 4-rod right of way, and where they come together, the Dean Road right of way goes over the bank, but not to the bottom of the bank. So there's this little sliver of land in there where we need to put riprap stone because the angle of the water coming at the bridge is very direct. In other words, if Dean Road wasn't there, the stone would be out on an angle, right? So it wouldn't be coming directly at the bridge. So I did talk to Tyler. He's updated the plans based on Mike and I's conversation with the landowners. So we have Jed Rule, who's our fence guy that lives there. He's very willing to give us whatever we need for a permanent easement. However, his sister does own 0.25% of the camp as well and the property. So we don't know her. She lives in Colchester. But if for some reason we ran into some trouble, Tyler did say that we could trim that back and make it so we wouldn't need the permanent easement altogether. So tomorrow I talked with Dave Root today, and I'm going to send him the information to draw up the easement agreement. And then I'm going to have Jed look at it. And then he said he'd take a copy down to his sister to take a look at. So we'll see how it goes. And the other part of it is he will draft up some memorandum of understanding for these other areas that we need. And I'll just run through these other things. So the next thing is tree removal and foam sealing of the bridge. So there's some trees that need to be removed within our right of way in order to build the bridge. I think Mike was going to get together with Don Toby, our tree warden, right?
I can do that.
And
We hadn't assigned that duty, but.
Oh, no, I thought we talked about it, but no big deal. One of us will get together with Don. And so those trees, I don't think are going to be significant, but Russ could take a look at it, whether Russ wants to do it or we hire it out. The landowners did say they want the wood, so that's no problem there. We can just, give them the bulk of the big wood. And then the other part is the cracks. So the reason we need to get rid of the trees after November 1 is the bats all leave for the winter. They all fly over some big cave in New York.
Not that it's Patty's house.
No, they all vacate. So all the bats are gone November 1. But they come back April 1.
Could they stand a tight
They get notice?
Yeah, they get notice. So anyway, it's important that we cut the trees when the bats are not here.
Got it.
Because we don't know if bats inhabit these trees or not, but if we cut them when the bats are gone, we don't need to worry about it. Same goes for the bridge. So if you go underneath the bridge, there's all these little cracks and fissures where bats could live. So Tyler, our engineer, has gotten okay from Army Corps of Engineers, and a acceptable practice is to foam those areas with spray foam. And Russ has agreed to do that. Mike and I crawled under there. We didn't see a whole lot of.
Well, one can of foam.
It's not many spaces.
It's not a lot of volume.
But if we don't do that, if we don't fill up those spaces, then we'd have to hire a bat expert in the spring to come out with sensitive equipment at $1,000 a day. So.
And
One can of foam sounds much better.
If they find a rare species bat.
Yeah, right.
There's no problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Russ is gonna learn about all of the bad things while he's plowing. He's got a cassette tape. He's gonna take that class. It's good. We got it under control.
So that's with the trees, and I don't know how your feelings on the trees. Well, after you could take a look at them and see, and
Through there, it doesn't look like anything major.
there isn't. There's probably some maybe 12-inch ash
Oh, really?
at most.
I don't even think they're that big.
Okay. Well,
Are you
So-
gonna be able, excuse me, are you gonna be able to deal that?
okay. So, and then, of course, we're asking these folks to, use their property for like 4 months out of the year. And so, in talking there's kind of some in-kind negotiations, no money changing hands, but so the Claytons have just simply asked for, their driveway comes down, it's really narrow and there's banks there and the visibility's not great. So they'd like their banks cut, is what I understand, and.
No, all Danny talked to me about was to excavate 18 inches deep, 12 feet wide, 45 feet back from the edge of the road. Put in some fabric in the bottom of that excavation, put in a foot of coarse gravel and 6 inches of fine gravel to eliminate this soft sponginess that he gets in the end of his driveway every spring. He didn't talk about cutting the banks or cutting trees or anything like that.
Okay.
So if there's anything to deal with that, I absolutely would love to have Dwayne be involved in those conversations if we're going to do it. Otherwise, we would likely want to farm that out. But I think there needs to be clear written direction as far as, I do not want to get into a situation where we're going to be exposing ourselves to liability that we didn't do something properly, or we hit something that we shouldn't have known about or anything like that. I'm real hesitant about.
Well,
but anyway, I want you to work with, if we're going to do that, make sure we're working with Russ and Dwayne.
Well, we're working with the town attorney. It's going to be written in a memorandum of understanding exactly what we're going to do. And we'll bring Dwayne, if we want to farm it out, fine. I envision this work being done when the road's closed, right? So that's the perfect time to do it. So the other thing is the Kellners are Morris now, is her married name, but the old schoolhouse is right on the edge of the pavement. It's starting to list towards the road a little bit. It's kind of racking. They would like it down. They're not asking us to, remove it. They're just asking for some help to push it out onto their property. So again, this is in the right of way, most of it, half the building's in the right of way. Push it onto their property is what I understood, and they would clean up the rest. They also floated the idea about maybe the fire department wanted to train in there, but I mentioned to Bob about that. But either way, if we could, while the road's closed, if we could push it back, and then they would take care of it from there. So that's basically all they were asking.
It's honestly a win for the town too. I think that would be better to have it removed as a hazard and, yeah.
I'm gonna plant the seed now, so that we don't lose sight of it. That when this road is closed, the traffic on the Irish settlement is going to go through the roof. And that I'm anticipating that there is going to be numerous phone calls to yours truly and to yourself and other members of this board about people going way too fast on the Irish Settlement Road. I hope that we are mindful of that and that we take that into consideration when it comes to budget time, and we're looking for time for the sheriff or the state police to be patrolling specifically on the Irish Settlement Road and not be waiting in the parking lot of the fire station.
Okay.
I think maybe having some of the
Be very,
movable,
be very clear about that
speed
now.
things.
Yeah. Well, so we could certainly, I would draft a notice that the select board could sign. I'd send it to Dan Gamlin. I'd also deploy our portable speed sign. I'd have it out there. Well, it's good to know how fast people are going.
And it does, I feel like it does work where it is, of just like giving people the awareness to slow down.
Record.
I think a belts and suspenders situation is good.
It's an awareness for sure, but there needs to be some serious consideration because I do know how fast people go on Pleasant Valley Road, and the Irish Settlement is not Pleasant Valley. And when you start driving all those folks for 4 months on that road, there'll be numerous phone calls for sure.
I think we need to encourage people to take Route 15. If you're on the north side of Bridge 7, you're crazy not to go 15. Why would you go Irish Settlement Road all the way down River Road, Irish Settlement out to your property? That's ridiculous. Come on Route 15 and.
We have a lot of people that love to go through the notch too that aren't supposed to.
No, I understand. So anyway, I understand what you're saying.
That's
So
good.
I don't know how you feel about these in-kind things. Is it okay for?
I don't have a problem with it, but I just
As long
want
as
to
it's spelled out.
spelled out and it's been reviewed by council and that we have our folks that are likely going to be doing it, have input into it. If they feel, if Dwayne and Russ are gonna balk, then we need to farm that out.
Okay, fair enough. So the bid process. So we've been in touch with Tyler and Cricket. Their plans, Cricket's going through her structural drawings one more time, just to make sure everything's in order. I talked to Tyler and he said certainly we could put out the project to bid possibly this Monday. I think the 27th is what we were thinking, right?
I believe so.
27th. We could put a notice in the 7 days paper. He did not recommend the Vermont bid registry that we've been using. He said he's had very bad luck with that. You get all kinds of people coming out of the woodwork. There's basically a handful of contractors that are capable of doing a bridge like this in Vermont, right? So he would send an invitation to them to bid. We put it in the paper, we put it on our website. I think that's sufficient. And the people that normally bid on this, the Winter Sets, the Blow and Cody's, the St. Ange, the people we really want, ECI, will hopefully all bid on it. So we have a pre-bid meeting. I think we were looking at mandatory pre-bid meeting probably on November 7th or possibly after Veterans Day. We don't want to get too close to deer season because everybody would be wanting to go to camp. So we get everybody out there. Mike, myself, Tyler, and Cricket would be there. The contractor gets the chance to look at the site, ask any questions. And then we'd receive the bids, I think by the 3rd, close the bids by December 3rd. That would give Tyler enough time to tabulate the bids and for the HIC to take a look at it and make a recommendation. But as Tyler said, you know, if the contractor is reputable and we have a low bid, that's the way to go. But we should also reserve the right to accept or, you know, reject any and all bids. So, but I would think if you've got a low price from a reputable contractor, that's the way we'd go. So that then we basically would present that at a select board meeting in December. And so the idea is, well, we're still going back and forth with this July 1 start date. Our streamwater alteration permit says we can start June 1, but Army Corps has these things and Mike's trying to get some
I've been
answers
trying
to
to
these
reach somebody at the
questions.
Corps, but I think because of the federal shutdown, there's nobody there.
Sure.
That's my guess. So that's probably why I'm having no luck. But I'm gonna talk to Cricket and present my question to her, and I hope she knows the answer. But
So the idea would be.
worst would be July 1st.
Yeah, so worst would be July 1st, but we would allow the contractor to come in and mobilize. We would not close the road until the buses were done. And we'll coordinate with, you know what I'm talking about?
School?
The school, but the bus super, Aaron Little. We'll contact with him, make sure we know exactly when the last bus is gonna go. And that's when we would plan on closing the road. So anyway, that's a synopsis about Bridge 7. And if you're okay, we just want to keep pushing forward with this. There's really, you know,
Mike thinks it's a good idea, so we should probably.
okay, so we're good. Anything else? Anything else?
It is exciting.
It's super exciting, yeah.
Exciting
Yeah.
to get it going.
And is there anything else you want to add to any of that?
I'm
Or
all talked out.
okay, well, sorry.
Just get warmed up.
I know.
Yeah. After 8:30, that's really when you have to
We
strap
really hit our
yourself in.
stride.
I might be nodding off here.
So
We all will.
anyway, I want to keep going along here on the items, if you don't mind, if you're good. with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep rolling.
Thanks, Mike.
So Essex Rescue, I included their budget request for fiscal year 27, and it's a 0% increase.
Love to see it.
I put that in your packet. I also put their 3rd quarter report in there.
Yep.
So you're good with that?
so far.
Let's go quickly through the appropriations I have received, and it's important to go through these appropriations because I prefaced the whole thing with our appropriation policy. So there's that 120 days before the annual meeting. So basically that day is the 3rd of November. So anything received after that makes a difference, right? So that's why I'm adding these appropriations now. So we have age well. Fiscal year 27 request is up 250 from the 1,500, so they're asking for 1,750. That is allowed in our appropriation policy. I would recommend just accepting that. COTS is the same, $500. And then we have the Chittenden County, the koozie. That's, I have a separate memo in your packet for that.
You're done with me, aren't you?
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Hey, Jennifer, could you mute? We're getting a lot of background from somebody.
Might be that color 1, 2.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. Anyway, so the koozie, I have a special memo in there that explains what happened. So, and basically, in fiscal year 24, we were funding them for about 5737. Fiscal year 25, they dramatically reduced their ask to 2577. Not sure why, but in fiscal year 26, they requested 5146. And this was right during a time where we were ripping the town hall apart. I had hearings for Harvest Crossing. I was just knee deep in it and I missed it. I missed the email with the request. So I called up the director, the executive director, Dan Boyer, and he just took over basically. And he did admit that things were kind of a mess under the prior direction. And he was trying to do his best to pull things together, but he got me my request. I called him immediately and I fessed up and said, hey, I said, we only funded you the 2577. That's because I missed your request. And I apologize for that. But so anyway, you know, he talked about overhead costs. So they do rent from the state on Cherry Street. I think they're in the courthouse. And their overhead costs, the rent has gone up incredibly. So really, he explained to me that they only have a few grant opportunities and most of their funding is through the towns. So I included their report from, he's going to send me this year's report within the month here, but I included last year's report that just talks about what they do. So I looked at the way I looked at this and said, okay, well, theoretically, if they had done the 5737 and they had increased 250 every year, we'd almost be at the point where we are now. So I don't know how you want to handle this, but I would recommend, you know, approving their request to go on to the ballot or into the budget.
Because if they had gotten the 5146 last year, then the increase to 6570 would be allowable within the appropriations.
It wouldn't be allowable, but it's kind of weird. He admitted he could not explain why the 2577 dropped. He said he has no idea why, because that was in 25 though. So anyway, I don't know. But that's my recommendation, is get them back on track. I think they do good things. I don't know if anybody has any experience with this organization. Shara, do you?
Yep.
They do good work.
Yeah, it's the work none of us wants to do.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really investigating horrific
crimes.
Yeah, and abuses. Yeah.
So I do feel bad, and I'm sorry I missed it, but I can't keep track of everything, especially when it was going nuts at that time. When I saw the email that I missed, I tracked it down, found it, they go, well, yeah, well, things were just
Yep.
made up
Yeah,
here, so.
no.
Been there.
But I'm doing a lot better job keeping track of appropriations this year. So I don't know if you're willing to go along with my recommendation, we can plug that in, whatever your pleasure is. So you have the ability to do that.
Okay.
Okay,
I was gonna say.
it's after.
We have to follow the policy.
Yeah, you're following the policy. You have
Okay.
but after November 3rd, you could not do that.
Okay.
So you have the discretion right now. And
I'm in
the
support of it.
only last thing I'll say
In
is,
support of what?
The proposed increase to 6,570.
For the Chittenden County.
Unit of
Okay.
Special Investigations.
Is that
Yeah.
the consensus, or do we need to vote on that?
I would put a motion in just to keep it clear, because this is a weird anomaly. I would say, the only thing I just want to say, just lastly, is, like I said, I'm using the rationale. If they stayed on that same track, that 5737 from 3 years ago, we wouldn't be too far off from where we are right now. So, that's it.
Yeah.
So Patty's gonna move that we put 6750 into the Chittenden Unit, Special Investigation Unit, aren't you?
Yes.
6570.
6570.
I'll make that
Okay.
motion.
I'll
And then-
second.
And Maureen's gonna
I
second
could
it.
jump the gun.
No, I'm with you.
Mhm.
Any discussion? Hearing none, are you ready for the question? All those in favor of 6570
70.
For Chittenden Unit of Special Investigation, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, the nay. Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, then Jericho Underhill Food Hub, that was approved by the voters last year, and they are requesting the same, $2,000. Steps to End Domestic Violence is requesting the same amount, $1,500. For a UVM Home Health and Hospice, there are our largest appropriation in this type of category is the same as last year, $8,000. And I will put in a shout out for them. My mother worked for the Champlain Valley Area on Aging for years. They are an incredible organization, and with our aging residents, we get our money's worth.
Yeah.
I know that.
And with cuts to Medicare and Medicaid, any other supports we
Yeah.
can have.
Mhm.
So we don't need to vote on any of that.
Any
That's
of
just
those.
gonna go.
No.
Got it.
I'm concerned with the budget, the federal budget not being passed. I am concerned that when I drive by the church on Route 15, Good Shepherd, when they're having their food, that the cars, well before they open the doors, that the level of need is increasing. I'm concerned about, food stamps not being available too, and the food insecurity levels that are going to be looming. I don't know that people are seeing the tip of the iceberg yet. I'm seeing it. So I don't know that, if we have the ability to raise this or any of these on our own now, if they ask for two, do we have the ability to go beyond that to give them more in anticipation of, what we may see or feel that may be coming?
The food hub is separate from the food shelf, though.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
Right. But I guess that's my question, is that we haven't seen the food shelf folks and their appropriation, and it's coming to
Do we have-
November 3, right? So
Yeah,
it's like,
can you just bear with me for a second? I just want to look at the town report. Is that do you know that's an appropriation, Bob?
I don't know, and that's
Okay.
why
I
I'm
don't know either.
I'm a little nervous about what I'm seeing,
Can you bear with me for 2
Yep.
seconds? I want to check.
yeah, I can see if
I think consulting with the food shelf board would be a good idea, rather
Yeah.
than doing something
right,
independently. I think that they,
reaching out to see, yeah.
yeah,
Well, but I'm just concerned that if we're gonna do something, you have to do it before
Before
the
November 3rd.
before November 3rd, right? So if we're going to do anything, then you would likely have to do it before then, or we'd have to call a special meeting.
All right, 2025 town report.
Or they would have to put in an article, we'd have to approve an article for the town meeting.
And that's what we did with the food hub last year. is They
Right.
missed the deadline
Yeah.
and then
And
submitted.
if we needed to do some more emergency stuff, I think that,
So is it the the Underhill Jericho food shelf? Is that the?
yeah, Underhill Jericho Ecumenical Ministry
Oh,
food shop.
ecumenical.
I'm not
And-
sure
and
that
it
they're an
is- it is,
appropriation of ours.
They are, they have a pretty responsible budget, and they would be able to be honest about how it's being tapped.
Okay, so we have local food shelf, and I'm assuming that is the
Right.
ecumenical ministry.
Right. And I don't want to speak for them, but
No,
that's why I think that we should engage.
reach
them.
out.
Can we,
Is
can we,
that for
can we
us?
please reach out to them?
Yeah,
And, make sure before, and if we
Yeah.
need to take action before the 3rd, then I would be
Yeah.
happy to call a special meeting, but I'm just seeing,
Well-
like, that's something that we really ought to be pretty mindful of.
if I get a request, so I'll just give you a little prelude to next meeting. I do have a new appropriation request that I received. So as long as I receive it before the 3rd, it's date stamped, and then if you have a meeting after, I will reach out. Is Forrest still involved in that?
Yeah, he's still,
Okay.
still,
I'll reach out to Forrest.
yeah, that would be a good idea to,
Mhm.
Rather than
I think it's an
make an
excellent idea.
independent
Yeah,
decision.
thank you for bringing that up, Bob. I think that's really,
And if we really need to up that, I mean, we're talking about July 1. If we really need to up that,
Right.
and
You have
And
contingency.
in consultation with them, an article can be done for the town meeting.
Right,
warrant.
I was not aware, but when you drive by, you are aware.
mhm.
Oh, yeah, and we make the breakfast sandwiches. I'm there before around 7, and people are waiting in line. And
It's,
so we make the breakfast sandwiches.
Yeah,
Get- get
our
the-
church gives a weekly report because it's part of the ecumenical thing of the number of families served each
Right,
time
right,
there's a distribution is
Right, and it's,
really substantial.
it's-
And the number of local families specifically is.
and it's pretty, well, the next 2 months are gonna be big. They always are.
Right.
Thanksgiving,
they are.
Christmas.
Right.
But they have a handle on the stats,
Mhm.
and, they aren't, there's a lot, but I don't know.
Well, they have confidential lists, and that's, they have
Sure.
they know.
Right,
They know.
Yeah.
And it's in the right hands. Okay, I will reach out. So, that's all there is for appropriations. We have a town land contract transfer. It's 92 Repa Road. So this is really, they're in the land, or the town land stabilization contract. It's the same owner. They didn't sell their property. It's the same owner. They're just putting their property into a trust. So it's a straight transfer. They've been in the program a long time. They qualified for the program. It's just as simple. So just a motion to authorize me to sign the transfer would be.
Move to authorize Brad to sign the transfer for the 92 Repa Road. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, are you ready for the question?
Mhm.
All those in favor of approving Brad to sign the land contract transfer for 92 Repa Road, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed with a nay. Motion carries 5-0. Keep rolling, Brad.
Okay, so 2025 PACIF insurance inspections. So PACIF comes out usually annually and looks around at all our town facilities. I think we did really well this year. Had a few comments that we've already started working on. I know Russ has been working on quite a few things over at the garage. We've addressed the items here at the town hall. So I've just included that report in the packet. And that's all I have for right there. Awesome.
Any questions for Brad?
Good job.
Thank you.
Okay. Closing public comment period. I do not see anyone. I see Jennifer. I see Donna. virtually. Mike is still here.
I figured I might as well hang out.
This is riveting, isn't it?
We're glad to have
We'll get you- we'll get you-
Russ is, yeah.
Yes, company.
I know.
You have to make 5 meetings, then you get the rocking chair.
Excellent.
Well, the last time I come to one of these is when my father was.
I know.
Yeah.
So that was very small.
It's cool.
It's been a interesting time tonight.
Evening, yeah, I'm sure.
All right. With that, review and approve the warrants is next. Review and approve the minutes of the October 9, 2025 meeting. So we'll do it as they're before me here. I move that we approve the select board meeting minutes for Thursday, October 9th, 2025. Is there a second?
Second. Maureen's got it. Maureen's got it.
Maureen's got it?
Yeah, she has
All
a
right.
second.
A second.
Okay. Maureen with a
We're trying to
second.
share.
I didn't know what was going on. It said the hand signals. It's like baseball season. I was like.
Good, Ken, you're
It said
both trying to
steal
move
first,
fast,
you know,
we're
it's
just
like,
slowing
you're
it
moving way
down.
too fast.
Right, good. That's
Okay, ready? Any discussion? Hearing none, are you ready for the question? All those in favor of approving the Thursday, October 9th, we'll have to do a roll call because you were.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do a roll call vote. So all those in favor,
Patty Richards, aye.
Bob Stone, aye.
Maureen Collins Gold, aye.
Dan Steinbauer, aye.
Charlotte Rule abstain.
So the motion carries 4-0 to 1. Thank you very much. Next, I'm gonna sign that. Next is the warrants dated 10/21/2025. I move that we accept that. Is there a second?
A second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, are you ready for the question? All those in favor of the warrants dated 10/21/2025, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed, the nay. That motion carries 5-0. Next is the payroll warrant dated 10/20/2025. I move that we accept as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, are you ready for the question? All those in favor of the payroll warrant, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, the nay.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Can you also pass around that resolution, Larry's application? It's in the, it needs everybody's signature.
We didn't approve it.
It's gonna have to be edited
It
though.
has to be edited.
Or should we sign, oh, the
You
signature.
gotta sign
page.
it now and then, because it's due November 3rd, so you won't meet again.
Wait, get the revised copy,
I
then we'll
won't-
sign it.
Yeah, well, no, this is the application resolution.
Oh, then that we can.
I will send it.
gotcha.
What I will do is send you, when he gets me the updated one, I'll send it to everybody. If I don't hear from anybody, I'm gonna authorize to
Yep.
submit it.
All right,
Got it.
here it comes. All right, got that out of the way. Member items, correspondence, announcements, consider additional special fiscal year 27 budget meetings and duties. The regular scheduled select board meeting is set to be on the 13th of November.
That doesn't feel like it could be 2 weeks away.
So, everyone have their calendars?
Can we just discuss one more thing? So I left a little extra time in here for the correspondence, unless you have member items you want to talk about first.
Yeah, we are not there yet, but we can back this up. Is
So
there-
it's member items,
Yeah, yeah.
correspondence.
Right, so okay,
I wanted to talk about the correspondence because I thought it was important, but
okay.
we're just doing the order.
Well, so why don't you go ahead and I'll close it out by anybody else that has anything, but go ahead.
Well, no, if you want member items, I was just saying, if you didn't have any member items, I was ready to
I don't know that
address.
yet.
Okay.
So go ahead, well, you can do your, you can
Oh,
do your
okay.
item, and then I'll ask them if they got anything.
All right, I
But you
was
clearly
trying
have
to do the order, that's all.
That's all right, I throwed you a curveball, you're doing all right.
All right, so in your packet, there is a anonymous complaint versus regarding underage and non-street legal motorbike use on 19 Harvey Road.
Oh, yeah.
So that's there. Have not taken any action. The person that wrote this said, I believe,
They contacted.
that they contacted the Vermont State Police.
I remember seeing that one.
I have submitted a tip to the Vermont State Police and let them know that I'm also writing the town.
Hmm.
So that's one thing we know. So anyway, it's not on the agenda, but it's fair game for any discussion since it's in correspondence.
So I had said,
yes,
once this came to my attention, to have you contact the Vermont State Police with that information and to get a case number, put the case number on that, and that we would file it away. There was a difference of opinion by Patty.
Okay.
So we have paused. So my opinion is still of the same, and the reason why I feel the way I do is that if this is a situation where you have a neighbor, they may not want to have their name on something. I'm sure that if they were able to, they would have had the conversation with their neighbor about their concern. If it has elevated beyond that, then now they are notifying the state police, and now they're notifying us and putting us on notice. We are not an enforcement organization. If they have already said they've contacted the state police, then there already should be a record of it. We are just closing the loop, and there's nothing more that this body can do other than to make the appropriate people aware of the concern that we have received. That's where I was coming from, and that was my thought process.
My concern was chewing up staff time, specifically Brad's time, chasing down an anonymous filing. At some point, we're not the enforcement folks of law enforcement of road policies. So I don't want to spin Brad's wheels chasing.
I'm not asking him to do anything more than to pass the information that we have received on to the state police and to have them give us a case number, document the case number, and then it would
If
be
it's
done.
as simple as that, I'm fine.
well, so we have to pay for a case number, unfortunately. It's crazy as it may sound.
What is a fee? What is the fee?
I'm not sure. I think it's $30 or something. You do it online and then they give you a case number. Had to do it with the accident on the.
Even though we're on a municipality.
It doesn't.
If the person who made the complaint left a tip for the state, they wouldn't have created a case number already, or?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm more than happy to give a
Yeah.
call to the state police and just follow up on it. If that
That,
sounds.
that would be my preference.
What did they call them, street bikes?
They called them
Non-street.
non-street
motorbike.
legal motorbike. So I dirt bike, obviously.
Because they have been going up and down New Road, well, it's the same. They're
Like
like,
battery bikes?
they're electric bikes.
Oh.
They sound like little helicopters. They move. They come down the, the walking trail area, right down New Road up in there.
Look, they're e-bike, they can go on the
Well,
road.
they're like they're not like you see them, electric bike. These
They're
things are
heavy.
almost like a motorcycle, because they're flying.
But they are e-bikes though. Anyway,
Or they're like.
I don't
E-bikes
want
are
you to
legal.
chew up a whole bunch of time on this.
I have
just wanna
contacts
put that out
with
there.
them and I'll
Be
send
done.
an email out and I'll say, just following up on this, the select board asked me to follow up on this. Are you aware? Confirm that they're aware.
So, so we're all clear. It is the consensus of the board to authorize Brad to do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Will do.
moving on.
So spring monitoring, or actually the spring monitoring report. So state finally got back to us about the results. And I just added this packet just to say, unfortunately, that monitoring shall continue according to the process. So I've reached out to Bob Ross for an updated estimate for next year's monitoring.
When, can you ask, when is it going to be time to challenge that?
I could ask, but it's.
Because it seems like it's pretty easy for the state to say, no, we're gonna continue to monitor it. So if we have decades upon decades of data that is showing that there's not a problem, then
Well,
I,
no, there's not that there's not a problem, it's just the problem has not increased.
But it's
The
been-
levels are still exceed the Vermont groundwater standard.
As
But they
long
have
as they are that way, they will continue to monitor.
But
I don't think they're going to continue if they don't need to.
But,
I
but
can
if,
ask-
but if the levels haven't gone anywhere, yeah, they're elevated, but they haven't gone anywhere for how long?
They've been consistent. So you read his letter here, and I can certainly ask Bob that question.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Mm-hmm.
He would know.
It just seems like, year after year after year, and it doesn't come at, it costs money to do this.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Even if it's just reducing down to like every 5 years or
Right.
like something just to
Or every
note
other
changes
year.
or
That's
something,
right.
yeah.
Start
It's
with every
worth-
other.
Well, I think Bob has made that pitch for us before. And,
It's worth asking the question, yeah.
Anything else? Anybody have anything? Is there a preference as far as, earlier, the first or the second meeting in November to go to the town garage?
If we're gonna have the hearing beforehand for the Tomasi, I think that hearing should be when we're in this building.
Okay, so,
Correct.
so that would be, so the second meeting, would be at the garage, and that's gonna conflict with Thanksgiving?
Correct.
yeah, so here's what I'm gonna propose. Jennifer stayed around just because she wants to chime in about budget work sessions and stuff. And here's Jennifer, okay?
I'm here. Can you
Yeah.
guys, I'm here.
So, both November and December, we're gonna miss a meeting because of Thanksgiving, Christmas. So regular meetings on November 13th. I would propose doing a special meeting for budget-related stuff and anything else that comes up, but we can mostly focus on budget for November 20th.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
And then we go back to December, we have the 11th. I would also propose doing the same, 11th and an 18th. Back to back, and the 18th might be more budget related. Because come hell or high water, we're gonna have to sign the warning, end of January. So we'll have 2 more meetings in January. Do you think that would be sufficient, Jennifer, to double up back-to-back meetings? Or do you want to have?
I think as long as there aren't any big issues that are, that we're looking at, I mean, and the select board would know if they have anything on their radar. I know I don't see anything on our capital improvement plan. I don't know that there's any big shakeups or, I feel like there's nothing, the budget should be pretty straightforward. So I don't think there's any big issues that we're going to face. I think the one, this year we had a huge increase in our budget, but we were able to absorb that because we had that surplus. So I think as long as there aren't any big, capital things that are going to come out of nowhere and end up on this budget, I think that should be more than adequate.
Yeah, and I think being back to back, like the week after, you don't have a tendency to stack up so much stuff. So I think the first, the 11th, the 13th, we'll have the Tomasi, and then the 20th will be probably almost all budget related.
So let's go through this again. So 13th will be a regular scheduled select board meeting. 11/20 will be a budget
at town garage.
And,
at town garage.
And we can do that at the garage.
Does that sound right?
I don't
Okay.
think it matters, but I won't be able to be at the meeting on the 20th. I mean, I'll still have all the work done and you guys will have all the budget stuff. So I don't think it will matter. On the 13th, I was planning to present the first round. So the 20th would be the second round.
Okay.
Okay.
What's the next meeting after that?
So we got the 13th, the 20th. Thanksgiving is the 27th, so we are not meeting. So those are going to be our 2 meetings in November. So what is December? I want to just go through, get through New Year's.
11th is our regular scheduled meeting.
12/11.
12/11. And then I would recommend doing 12/18.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'd be back for January 8th.
So the 18th would be a regular schedule, or that would be just
Special.
special, and that would be a just budget.
Or maybe there might be some other
Mostly
small
budget,
business,
probably.
mostly. The 11th is the regular schedule, December 11th. December 18th would be mostly budget, but maybe another item. And then we'd be back on track for schedule the 8th. And then the 22nd, we may have to throw an extra meeting in January somewhere to sign the warrant.
Well, why don't we go through the 8th? So I've got 11th, 13th, there's going to be a regular scheduled select board meeting. The 20th of November is going to be a budget, and we'll do that at the garage. The December 11th is going to be a regular scheduled select board meeting. The 18th of December is going to be a special select board meeting. And the 8th of January is going to be a regular scheduled select board meeting.
Back on track.
And then we'll be back.
Back to normal.
However, with the caveat that we have to put something in there in January.
But this does not address a hearing, or the hearing would be the 13th for Tomasi. And what are we going to do about the zoning and planning and all that fun stuff?
So probably ought to throw something special just for that.
That'd be like December 4th.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So, and then we also need to schedule a time with Jericho to go over, even though we don't have it, we're gonna have to schedule a time sometime in January, so I'll get on the calendar or December with Jericho to do the fire department, and I think it's their time to come here.
Yeah, it is. And so the good thing about that is possibly the 18th might work for that meeting with Jericho, because they meet on the off Thursdays.
So
The 18th of.
So then we would be on the
December.
same week, that week, since we're off schedule.
So we
Okay.
would, so with that being said, you'd need to contact Todd, excuse me, get Todd's budget, and then start planting the seed with Paula to say, we would invite them to come here.
Yep.
Make sure we get a gallon of cider so that more, what's her name we have something to give her to drink.
Hard cider?
No. just regular.
Well, I'll be in attendance.
So, okay.
Because I picked on her last time that they didn't have anything to drink, so I just figured that we had to be cordial and have something for her to drink. Come here.
So should we sort of pencil in December 4th for a hearing for the
for the
proposed
December
for the
4th.
bylaw.
change, the bylaw changes, or the land use regulation amendments?
So it's gonna be 3 Thursdays in a row, but
Okay.
Patty can do it.
Party. Well, no, because there's Thanksgiving in the middle.
No,
Yeah.
4, 11th, 18th.
Oh, the
I
4th,
can,
11th.
so we'll say,
I didn't click over the next page.
land use regulations, right?
So land use would be on December 4th.
Yeah.
And then when did Larry say he was going on vacation?
Oh, yeah, I wrote that down. Larry is back on the 4th. So that could work out.
Okay.
And don't forget, you got a 2-year zoning administrator veteran here. I can answer some of your questions too.
Right, but that's confirmed with him.
Yes, I will,
Mhm.
before we
Make
set
sure-
that date.
Yeah, this is just penciled in
Yeah.
for now.
I'll put
I
a
will
question mark
confirm.
next to it, check with Larry.
We'll confirm with Larry. I think I've written down here November 4th back.
Okay, what else are we missing?
Next regular scheduled select board is November 13th, which will be you're just gonna take testimony from the public
The
regarding.
first half hour, like
Tomasi.
we did tonight, yeah.
Yeah,
We'll do a
it's-
front porch forum post.
I will. And
Maybe a
I'll do the
Social media,
abutters.
the whole thing.
I'll do
Mhm.
the abutters, yep.
Sweet.
Yeah,
So that way it's almost like a DRB hearing, but not really.
okay.
What else do we need to know? Nothing?
I'm done.
Okay,
Okay.
anybody else have anything?
Well, Anoki wanted to say hi to you guys.
No, I saw
I
that.
saw Anoki is looking for a new home.
No, say
Shut
hi.
up.
Say
Looks
hi.
pretty happy there.
Hi, Anoki.
He's really happy here. He's super happy here.
Oh.
He gets to go outside, but we have a
No.
dog that eats cats, so
Not ideal neighbors.
no.
Yes.
But anyway, he
Sorry.
wanted to say hi.
Thank you.
But when a dog and a cat get in a fight, the cat always wins.
Not at our house.
Not at my house.
So far,
Dan,
so
we
far,
are-
it's 1-0.
That's your favorite part of the meeting.
Yeah, I should consult with my friend Barack about that.
We'll get. It's been moved. Is it seconded by
My turn, I second.
All right. Step in here. All those in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? We are adjourned at 8:54. Thank you,
Brad
everyone.
agrees, does not object.
All right, thanks,
everybody.
everybody.